At the end of the Ice Age, I accumulated tens of billions of supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376 Interrogation. Yang Xingchen said to Zhang Yi, through the conversations of Gao Yuan and others, it can be seen that their attitude towards snow worship sect is very bad. Therefore, I think the conflict between them is relatively sharp. Zhang Yi thought for a while and asked back, so what? Do you mean that, if we are attacked by the Yangsheng base, we can consider enlisting snow worship sect as a helper? Yang Xingchen blinked and said with a smile, who knows? But if you can have one more helper, it's better than one more enemy, right? Zhang Yi shook his head. Helpers with unknown origins are sometimes more terrifying than enemies. He changed the subject, but if it's worth using, I don't mind squeezing them. It is very difficult to have any friends in the last days. Everyone is just a relationship of exchanging interests. Whoever has value can become a partner. But when interests conflict, they will immediately switch positions and become enemies. But Zhang Yi didn't know at this time that a small team had already set off from the headquarters of the snow worship cult, heading towards Yonk Manor. Dong Hu left Zujia town with Wu Chenggai and others, and rushed back to Yangsheng base overnight. With these tongues, he can already practice handicap against Zhao Hang. At this time, Wu Chenggai and others were all restless. Facing these strong men who didn't know their origins, they were very worried that they would be killed. If only we could have followed Teacher Liang's advice back then. We would not have been caught if we had kept hiding. Although Zhang Yi is selfish and ruthless, at least he won't kill us and will give us food for Teacher Liang's sake. No. All of this is Liang Yu's fault. If she hadn't left us in Zujia town, how could we have encountered this situation? Even if she stays to protect us, she can buy us time to escape. Despair, hatred, remorse, all kinds of emotions filled the hearts of the students. But the indifferent Yangsheng base soldiers around them didn't care what they were thinking. As long as it falls into their hands, they have ways to pry open the mouths of these immature students and get the information they want. Dong Hu and his convoy returned to Yangsheng base. It was already very late at this time. Dong Hu still went to find Zhao Hanglian. He knew that Zhao Hanglian slept for a very short time every day, only about 5 hours. Sure enough, when Zhao Hanglian came to work, she was still checking the documents submitted by her subordinates. After Dong Hu knocked on the door and entered the office, Zhao Hanglian asked without raising his head, "What's the result of the investigation?" Dong Hu immediately narrated everything he saw. "We found Gao Yuan's lost mobile phone in Zujia town. We also captured a group of students who claimed to be from Shanking College, and their teacher was by Zhang Yi's side. As for Zhang Yi, I haven't seen it, but I found a thick ice and snow barrier in Yonk Manor across the river from Zujia town. If my guess is correct, Zhang Yi and his men are living behind that barrier. It is also relying on that barrier to block the attack of the Zishan base." Dong Hu expressed his judgment. Zhao Hanglian frowned slightly. She put down the document in her hand and looked at Dong Hu with deep eyes. "Where are those students?" Dong Hu replied, "It's just outside. Do you want to interrogate yourself?" Zhao Hanglian stood up from the chair. "Let's go and have a look. This is a matter of great importance. The result of the interrogation determines whether Zhao Hanglian will launch an attack on Zhang Yi." So she had to listen to the students' narratives herself. At this time, Wu Chenggai and others were thrown into a workshop of the refinery. The surrounding machines were still rumbling, and the temperature was much higher than the outside world. This relieved the chills on the students' bodies, but it did not warm their hearts. The guards around them were all soldiers with live ammunition. Such a depressing environment is not much better than when riding a bicycle at the Zishan base. None of them dared to speak, and they knelt on the cold ground, feeling as if their legs were going to be useless. After a long time, they heard a burst of rhythmic footsteps coming from outside the workshop. The door of the workshop was opened by 2 soldiers, and what Wu Chenggai and others saw was a stern and domineering woman's face. She was wearing a red dress, and her costume was a special combat uniform, which was very different from the others. Especially the 3 fire emblems on her shoulders marked her unique identity. She was followed by Zhu Qingting and Dang Hu. When Wu Chengyu saw Dang Hu standing behind the woman who arrested them, he immediately understood her identity. After Zhao Hanglian came to the workshop, he saw that the group of people he had captured were weak. The faces of the girls were all pale, and they were already scared out of their bodies. The boys are all fair-skinned, and they look powerless. It can be judged at a glance that they are all well-protected students in the ivory tower. If no one sheltered them, they should have been the first batch of people to die in the last days. Dang Hu said to Zhao Hanglian, "There is another person who passed out. He should have some connection with Zishan base, because I found the body transformation technology of Zishan base on him." Zhao Hanglian suddenly became interested. The body modification technology at the Zishan base is something that makes her feel greedy. Although the death rate is relatively large, it is possible to create a semi-inhuman team once and for all, greatly improving the armed forces of the base. Unlike them, they can only temporarily increase the strength of soldiers through drugs. That person will study it later. Zhao Hanglian said lightly. A soldier moved over a chair and put it respectfully behind Zhao Hanglian. She sat down generously, raised her legs, and looked down at the captured student in front of her. The amber eyes glowed with a cold red light, and there was a kind of domineering look down on everything. His fiery red lips spat out cold words. "Tell me everything you know. Otherwise, you won't want to experience the interrogation methods at the Yangsheng base." Wu Chengyu was very clever, and quickly knelt down and bumped his head to the ground. "Please rest assured, I will tell you everything you want to know. I only ask you to save my life." Seeing this, the other students immediately came to their senses. At this time, they must show their role, so that they may not be killed. "I'll tell you everything I know. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Who do you want to know about? Whether it's Zhang Yi or teacher Liang Yu, I can tell you about them." They were so frightened that before Zhao Hanglian started to ask questions, they rushed to tell the information they knew. Chapter 377. Nobody really became a virgin, right? Seeing their humble appearance, Zhao Hanglian felt a little disgusted in her heart, because she understands that it is impossible for such a useless and cowardly person to have access to Zhang Yi's core information. But she doesn't know much about Zhang Yi herself, so she can learn as much as she can from them. "First of all, tell me, where did you get this satellite phone?" Liang Yu took out Gao Yuan's satellite phone and showed it to them. But how do these students know where it comes from? If it wasn't for Dang Hu digging it out from under their bed, they wouldn't have had a chance to see it either. "We don't know about this either. We've never seen it." Displeasure had already flashed across Zhao Hanglian's eyes. Wu Chengyu thumped in his heart, realizing that something was wrong. His head was running fast, and he suddenly had an idea. This thing was left by Zhang Yi. In short, no matter what the problem is, just push it to Zhang Yi and Liang Yu. They are students with no power to restrain their chickens, so those with stronger abilities should be allowed to take responsibility. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu brought them to Zujia town, so they should be responsible for their safety. Zhang Yi. Did he really do it? Murder intent began to emerge in Zhao Hanglian's eyes. Killing Gao Yuan is tantamount to declaring war on her and the Yangsheng base. As the leader of Yangsheng base, she must make Zhang Yi pay the price in blood. Otherwise, Her Majesty and the Yangsheng base will be shaken in the future. Tell me, how many people are Zhang Yi and his men? What kind of ability does each have? Also, how many weapons and supplies do they have in their hands? Zhao Hanglian looked closely at Wu Chengyu and asked the most critical question. This topic caused the brains of Wu Chengyu and the others to crash. Although they have lived in Zujia town for a long time, they have never been to the other side of the river. Their life and the life in the shelter are two completely unrelated parallel lines. They don't know how strong Zhang Yi is, what his abilities are, and the abilities of his subordinates. Although they still had contact with Liang Yu, at that time they were thinking all day about how to gain Liang Yu's sympathy, get more food, and even enter the shelter. They never asked about people like Zhang Yi. Of course, even if they asked, Liang Yu might not tell them. A group of students faltered and murmured, telling them everything they had learned. I seem to have heard that Zhang Yi's ability is space. The people under him are all very powerful. One of them named Yang Xingxin is a top hacker. There's also a guy named Luke Karen, who's pretty good at mechanics. Oh, there is a woman named Yang Mi next to him, that big star Yang Mi. Also, our teacher Liang Yu is with him now. Teacher Liang's skills are very good. She is a master of the national martial arts level. She once served as a high-level bodyguard. She is very powerful. A group of people are talking all over the place, and what they say is fragmented information. Zhao Hanglian asked Zhu Qingting to record all this information. But they say a lot, but very little. For example, although they said that Zhang Yi is a space-type supernatural being, they couldn't tell what the specific ability was. As for Liang Yu, her ability is a relatively common strengthening ability, which uses supernatural powers to enhance her already strong physique and martial arts. This information is somewhat useful. When the two sides have a war in the future, they will know how to deal with Liang Yu. But these students don't know anything about the shelter's defenses by force and the abilities of other people. Only with these materials, it is difficult to judge how strong Zhang Yi's team is. Zhu Qingting shook his head at Zhao Hanglian. Zhao Hanglian tapped on the edge of the chair with her long, white, and tender fingers. Of course she understood that limited intelligence is not enough to start a war. It's just that she has to fight this battle. Do you have any other information? Think about it again. Only these words are not enough for me to keep your lives. Zhao Hanglian spoke to them calmly. The students felt their heads spinning. Are they going to die here? No. We have other values. Don't kill us. You keep us. Teacher Liang is very soft-hearted. You can use us to exchange with Teacher Liang. No matter what conditions you put forward, she will agree. Yes, Teacher Liang cares about us the most. She won't just let us die. If you are going to fight Zhang Yi, we can still show you the way. Hearing the student's words, a mocking smile appeared on the corner of Zhao Hanglian's mouth, and she stood up without much interest. She waved her hand. Lock them up. Give them some time to think about their own role. If you really can't think of anything, just cut off their sacrificial flags when you go out. What a refinery needs are workers who can do the work. There is no need to keep these students who look weak and look like they are dying. They can only waste food. But Zhu Qingting came over and said to her, maybe we can give it a try. Try what? Zhao Hanglian asked indifferently. Zhu Qingting said, these people are Liang Yu students, and Liang Yu is now Zhang Yi's subordinate. Maybe the relationship between them is really good. We don't know what Zhang Yi's strength is now. We can use these students as bargaining chips to pretend to negotiate with him first. In this way, judge how strong Zhang Yi's cards are. Zhao Hanglian looked at him with some surprise. Do you think it's useful to threaten Zhang Yi or Liang Yu with these useless students? The corner of her mouth was full of sarcasm. Don't be stupid. What time is this now? This is the end of the world. Everyone is trying their best to survive. Only those who have value are worthy of being exchanged. They are trash at first glance. Who will pay for them? Even their teacher, Liang Yu, couldn't be so stupid. Zhu Qingting lowered his head and smiled. My great leader, you must understand that not every woman in this world is as sensible as you. Maybe their teacher Liang Yu is a soft-hearted woman. And from my point of view, since they can live near Zhang Yi's shelter, it means that Liang Yu still has some attachment to them. After listening to Zhu Qingting's words, Zhao Hanglian also felt that there was some truth. She can't judge others by herself. After all, there are only a few strong women like her. You mean that their teacher, Liang Yu, might be a virgin? Zhu Qingting said with a smile. I only hope she is the best. In that case, we will have a chance. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378 Zhang Yi will never give up on them. Zhao Hanglian listened to Zhu Qingting's suggestion and decided to contact Zhang Yi to test it out. However, she didn't believe that Zhang Yi and Liang Yu would act like the Virgin Mary, because if the other party is that kind of person, it is impossible to survive for so long in the last days. But she was still very interested in taking the opportunity to test the opponent's strength. It would be best if they cared about these people, and then the advantage of the negotiation will be in our hands. Zhao Hanglian asked Zhuge Qingting to find a way to contact Zhang Yi. At this time, Zhang Yi and the others no longer used the original mobile phone number. Each of their mobile phones has been transformed into an encrypted communicator, which can facilitate internal calls without being monitored. The advantage is that you don't need to pay phone bills. Well, this is a bad joke. As a result, Zhuge Qingting has no good way to contact the people in the shelter. He had no choice but to tell Zhao Hanglian that he could send someone to report to Zhang Yi and leave the communication band for Zhang Yi to contact Yangsheng base. Zhao Hanglian nodded and didn't have any opinion on it. Having already grasped Zhang Yi's geographical location and captured Liang Yu's students, she didn't need to rush for revenge. You must collect enough information and understand the opponent's strength before you can do it. Otherwise you will probably be the one who suffers. Therefore, Zhuge Qingting sent several members of the investigation team under Deng Hu to send a letter to Zhang Yi. As for Wu Chenggai and others, they were detained in an underground cell. They were all wearing improved explosive collars around their necks. Even if they want to escape, or someone comes to rescue them, the Yangsheng base can detonate it remotely and blow their heads off. After the jailer guarding the cell gave them a warning, he left the cell expressionlessly. A dozen or so students gathered together, looking at the explosive collar around their necks like a death talisman, their faces full of despair. They can't even cry because the tear ducts are frozen. Teacher Liang, you must come and save us. The next day, the sky was bright, but the sky was already covered by dark clouds, and it was still difficult to see the sun through the clouds. Only occasionally when the weather is good, I can vaguely see that round of cold round silhouette. The sun has been hanging high, but people on this planet can hardly feel its temperature. Zhang Yi and others sat around the long table and finished breakfast. Liang Yu stood up and said to Zhang Yi, I'll go to the opposite side. Zhang Yi raised his head. Oh, okay. Go early and come back early. It's quite cold outside. Don't freeze yourself. Liang Yu couldn't help biting his lip slightly due to this gentle concern, and his complexion was a little rosy. She didn't dare to look at Yang Mi and Zhao Ke next to her, because she didn't need to look to know that there must be a bit of jealousy in their eyes. Recently, the relationship between her and Zhang Yi has developed rapidly. Although Zhang Yi didn't say any intimate words to her, but that occasional concern is often there. When practicing together, the physical contact becomes more and more frequent. After a long time, she herself didn't know whether she had developed feelings for Zhang Yi and what Zhang Yi thought of her. She took the food from Zhang Yi, put on her winter clothes, and left the shelter. Zhang Yi didn't look at her back, but still slowly picked up a small octopus ball with a fork, stuffed it into his mouth and chewed slowly. What would Liang Yu do when she found out that all her students had disappeared? Zhang Yi was a little curious. From the bottom of his heart, he hoped that Liang Yu would simply give up those students and be his obedient helper honestly. But judging from Zhang Yi's understanding of her, it is impossible for her to remain indifferent to the students' disappearance. There may even be radical moves. I hope I don't cause too much trouble. Otherwise, I can only ask you to leave this shelter. Zhang Yi thought so in his heart. This is a test for Liang Yu. Liang Yu came to Zujia town with food. She walked into the igloo where the students lived as usual, but when she opened the curtain, she found that there was no one there. Cock. Her heartbeat accelerated suddenly, and she felt a bad premonition in her heart. She knew those students very well. They were lazy by nature, and they were unwilling to leave the snow house for a single step, except to go fishing. Even going to the toilet is done behind the curtain. With the severe cold so far, even the ladies of Jingui in the past can't care about their image. But now, there is no one here, so something must have happened. Where did everyone go? Liang Yu swallowed a mouthful of saliva, very nervous. I didn't see them when I came across the river, so I couldn't be out fishing. Liang Yu put the food on the table, then turned around and went out to find their traces. Zujia town is dead and silent now. Although there are still very few living villagers left, they will not leave their homes except for food. Liang Yu didn't care too much, went door to door to search, asking the villagers if they had seen where her students were. But the result is of course fruitless. Liang Yu's mood became more and more depressed, and that ominous premonition slowly enveloped her. Her students had disappeared. Disappeared so abruptly. Under the current environment, if they leave Zhujia town, they will only have a dead end. Was it kidnapped? Liang Yu thought of the surrounding forces mentioned by Zhang Yi before, and thought of the worst possible outcome. Could it be that they were taken away by some powerful force? But why? A barren place like Zhujia town has no resources to plunder. Their target is people. But the other villagers have not been taken away either. Liang Yuxiang's head ached a little. She couldn't figure it out, and the worry in her heart became more and more serious. She is disappointed by these students, but since the end of the world, these students have accompanied her to the present. Even she knew that these students didn't appreciate her. But there is always an obsession in people's hearts. For example, she couldn't just watch the students she had taught for many years die. Liang Yu looked at the dead ice field around her, with the cold wind howling. She was like a headless fly. Even the students who wanted to find her couldn't start. I can only ask Zhang Yi to help me. A look of struggle flashed across Liang Yu's face. She didn't want to cause trouble for Zhang Yi. After all, he was kind enough to take her in, and Zhang Yi was also very kind to her. Perhaps in her heart, she also has some special feelings for Zhang Yi. But now, she really can't think of any other way to find those missing students. Their disappearance will not be accidental. If someone really shot at them, then the target must be me. Liang Yu raised her head and exhaled a stream of white smoke, which condensed like an arrow and did not disperse. I can't let them die because of me. Chapter 379. Liang Yu hurried back to the shelter. Her anxious appearance attracted everyone's attention. Zhang Yi also looked at her curiously. What's wrong with you? Liang Yu ran up to Zhang Yi and said out of breath, Zhang Yi, it's not good. Something serious has happened. My students, they all disappeared. Everyone was surprised when they heard the words. What? Disappeared? How could this be? Are all the dozen or so of them gone? Could it be that he went out to find wood and food? Everyone's faces were full of concern, but their eyes were full of indifference. In the entire shelter, only Liang Yu cared about those people. Others didn't have any kindness for her student. Liang Yu shook her head. I've searched everywhere I can. I haven't found a single person. Zhang Yi, I wonder if those forces have already extended their tentacles. Zhang Yi crossed his hands and frowned. It's very possible. But I don't understand why they want to take your students away. Could it be that you had some enemies before? Liang Yu was also very confused at this moment. I don't know. I have taught at Qianqing College for 3 years, and I haven't made any enemies with anyone. Zhang Yi comforted. Don't worry about this matter for the time being. Worrying is useless. We need to calm down and find a solution. Zhang Yi winked at Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen next to him. The two girls came to Liang Yu, dragged her to sit on the sofa, and comforted her a lot. Zhang Yi looked into Liang Yu's eyes seriously and said sincerely, Liang Yu, first of all, I want to explain something to you. I'm definitely not responsible for their disappearance. If you don't believe me, I can let you see the information of the shelter monitor. I was in the shelter all day yesterday and didn't go out at all. Liang Yu widened her eyes when she heard this and said anxiously, no. Zhang Yi, how could I suspect that you did it? Now Zhang Yi is already a gentle and kind man in her heart. Naturally, she would not doubt Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi shook his head. It is better to clarify some things. In this way, there will be no grudges in everyone's hearts. Your students disappeared, and we in the shelter are all suspects. Seeing this, Yang Xingxin also said, yes, although none of us would do such a thing. It's best to let each other feel at ease. Liang Yu was very embarrassed. Isn't it good to do this? I know Zhang Yi is not that kind of person. Although she said so, she still had a little doubt in her heart. After all, not everyone has the ability to make people disappear without a sound. It's okay, let's check the surrounding surveillance to make sure no strangers appear nearby. Zhang Yi called ZIOAI, the artificial intelligence of the shelter, and asked it to call out all the surveillance videos around the shelter from yesterday to now. Soon, the 100-inch screen on the wall of the living room played the video content of more than 100 surveillance images. After high-speed fast playback, it didn't take long for everyone to finish watching the monitored content. Yesterday, the area around the shelter was as quiet as usual, and no one was found coming in or out. This also ruled out everyone's suspicion. At least the disappearance of the students was not their own hands. Liang Yu breathed a sigh of relief. The result she was most afraid of did not happen. Zhang Yi folded his hands and held his chin and said with a serious face, "This is going to be troublesome. We don't know who the attacker is and what is his purpose. That puts us in complete passivity. Although it is known that there are still 4 major organizations in Xianhai City, it cannot be completely ruled out that it is the actions of other unknown small forces. For us, it's almost impossible to take the initiative to do anything. But if the other party kidnaps Liang Yu's students, there must be some conspiracy, so I think we should wait. Maybe the other party will contact us." Liang Yu clenched her fists. "But, what is there for me to be plotted by others? I don't remember who I have offended." Zhang Yi said with a smile. "This question is very complicated, but since it is your student who is being arrested, who else can it be, if it is not you? Of course, I'm just raising a possibility." Liang Yu frowned tightly. She wants to do something right now, but she found in a daze that she couldn't do anything. Not knowing who the enemy is, not knowing what they want, she can only stay here in a daze. At this moment, her cold hand was grasped by Zhang Yi's big warm hand. Liang Yu's heart trembled. She raised her head, and Zhang Yi looked at her with gentle eyes. "Liang Yu, don't worry, your business is my business. I promised you that I would help you take care of those students, so you won't break your promise and lose weight. As soon as there is news, I will act immediately." Liang Yu's heart was warm, but now she had no choice but to obey Zhang Yi's arrangement. Zhang Yi smiled and narrowed his eyes, but his heart was full of joy. Finally solved those troubles. It won't be long before they will die. Even if the people at Yangsheng base don't kill them, the poison Zhang Yi puts in their food again and again will still work. The most important thing is that Liang Yu will not find out that he did it, so she will turn against him. Everyone comforted Liang Yu, and she felt a little better, but she still couldn't completely let go. Zhang Yi asked Lu Karen and Yang Xingxin to take Liang Yu back to have a good rest. After they left, Zhao Kena came to Zhang Yi with a worried face, leaned on him and asked, "Zhang Yi, could it be that one of those forces is coming to attack us?" "Well, that's it." Zhang Yi nodded and admitted the matter without hesitation. He didn't tell anyone about killing Gao Yuan and others, but he knows that there will eventually be conflicts with several major forces. Only when they have proved their strength in one match will those forces coveting the Zishan base site be completely stopped. This is an unavoidable situation. Yang Mi sighed softly. "I haven't lived a stable life for a few days. Why are you fighting again?" Zhang Yi smiled disapprovingly. "You are wrong. It's not war that disrupts our secure lives. It's that we traded war for a short period of tranquility. War and fighting are the norm in the last days, but peace is not." Zhang Yi leaned on the sofa, thinking about how to deal with the subsequent war in his mind. If it's just 2 forces attacking at the same time, they should be able to defend themselves. But, is there any possibility of the 4 of them joining forces? Zhang Yi frowned slightly. If that's the case, it might be a little troublesome. Chapter 380 The Messenger. Zhang Yi is ready for the First World War. In this battle, he must make a name for himself in Xianhai City, so that no force will dare to provoke him again. Only in this way can he obtain a long-term stable life. Although Liang Yu is an anxiety, women are all emotional animals. Everyone calm down, and it won't be long before it's alright. After all, those students could not live for a few days. Once they died, the obsession in Liang Yu's heart disappeared, and the matter was over. For the next day, Liang Yu didn't eat anything. Zhao Kena was inevitably a little worried. If she continues like this, will her body be dragged down? It's okay, her body is strong, and she will be fine after 3 days of starvation. If she likes to torture herself in exchange for relief, then let her go. Zhang Yi had an indifferent attitude on his face. Liang Yu is a martial artist, not so fragile. She just used the pain of her body to ease the pain in her heart out of self-blame. Zhao Kena heard the words, couldn't help but asked with a smile, "Don't you feel bad? Distressed? Distressed for what?" Zhang Yi asked with a smile. Zhao Ken blinked. You don't have any thoughts about Liang Yu? Or, you have never been tempted by her? Zhang Yi smiled lightly. I admire her very much. It would be best if she can become a reliable friend. But before that, she must get through the current hurdle. Feelings are the spice of life for Zhang Yi today. With it, life will be more enjoyable, but without it, you can live well with only staple food. After rebirth, the longer he spends in the last days, the less he sees so-called love and affection. In life, it is happiest to be a person who thinks more about himself. For Liang Yu, he will give all support except practical actions. He won't fall in love with anyone easily, because once you have feelings, people will soften their hearts and hesitate to do things. Now he can make Liang Yu his friend, but he can't be his lover. In the afternoon, Zhang Yi called Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu over and informed them to be ready to fight at any time. Because people from Yangsheng base have invaded the area around the shelter, they found Zujia town, so naturally they would not find the shelter not far away. And the reason they didn't attack was simply because they weren't ready. Uncle Yu's reaction was relatively calm. Ever since we killed the aliens at Cheoyu base, I knew that this battle was inevitable. Fatty Zhu sighed. It's really troublesome. Those guys can't just stop and stop. Isn't it good to live in the end times? Do you have to fight for some territory? Zhang Yi calmly explained. No matter at any time, there will be ambitious people who want to gain higher power. When the goal of survival is achieved, their desires will expand infinitely. Not everyone wants as much as we do. And from a security point of view, only by eradicating all threats around me can I be absolutely safe. Let alone them. Even if I find that there are small armed groups around, I will kill them. Speaking of this, Zhang Yi smiled and encouraged Fatty Zhu and said, but you don't need to worry too much. Everything is in my plan. As long as we let them see our strength and let them understand that we are hard nuts to crack, they will naturally not dare to attack again. There is no deep grievance between Zhang Yi and the 4 major forces in Xianhei City. Just killing one of them and a few soldiers, this kind of thing can be big or small. As long as his strength makes the opponent afraid, the problem will be solved. Getting him to take the initiative to hit the next base is very difficult. But just defending the shelter, he is still very confident. Uncle Yu crossed his arms and laughed loudly. Anyway, it's over. Our good life is achieved by punching. If anyone dares to disturb us, we must subdue them. Fatty Zhu sighed and rested his fat face in one hand. Now that things have come to an end, I have no choice but to fight. It was not the first time for them to experience battle, so there was no particular resistance in their hearts. After all, defense is always easier than offense, not to mention that they still have a safe final line of defense called sanctuary. At this moment, there was a faint sound of an engine outside the shelter. The eyes of the 3 people suddenly became sharp. Someone is here. It's a car. Zhang Yi instinctively jumped up from the sofa and rushed to the window on the 2nd floor. Looking into the distance through the one-way glass, he found a modified snowmobile on the road a few hundred meters outside Yonk Manor. It felt very familiar, similar to the snowmobiles he had seen from the Yangsheng base before. People from Yangsheng base? Why is there only one car? Is it a scout or an envoy? While thinking, Zhang Yi took out a large sniper from a different space. The snowmobile was driving towards this side at a fast speed, and it seemed that it had no intention of stopping at all. It's just that when passing the front of Yonk Manor, a fine steel crossbow suddenly appeared from the window, and then a black arrow shot into the ice wall. After finishing this step, the snowmobile quickly left. Want to go? The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth curled into a sneer. He opened the window, set up a sniper, and aimed at the tracks of the snowmobile. Boom. After a gunshot, 800 meters away, the tracks of the snowmobile were directly broken. The car skidded on the road, and then fell to the ground, and slid towards the river. Zhang Yi hugged the big sniper, and jumped out of the window directly. The falling snow on the ground had already been trampled firmly, but the moment he landed, the force of space enveloped his body, greatly reducing the impact force, allowing him to land firmly like a feather. The longer he got the power, the more skillful he was at using it. In the room behind him, Uncle Yu and Huahua quickly followed. Zhang Yi and Uncle Yu rode on Huahua's body, and after a few jumps, they chased after the snowmobile. When they arrived, they saw 2 soldiers wearing Fire Emblem combat uniforms crawling out from inside. One man's leg was crushed, and the other tried to take him with him. But after seeing Zhang Yi and the others, he resolutely gave up on his teammates and ran back. Zhang Yi raised his gun and aimed at his calf and shot. Puff! The soldier's calf was pierced, and he fell on the snow after screaming. Another soldier wanted to draw his gun to resist, but Uncle Yu directly held his neck, preventing him from moving. It doesn't look like a stranger. Zhang Yi tied up the 2 soldiers and found that they were just ordinary soldiers without any special abilities. So it is impossible for them to come here because of combat missions. He didn't take the lives of these 2 people, so he managed to catch 2 tongues, so he had to dig out the information. But these 2 soldiers were ruthless enough. They also knew that there would be no way out if they were caught, so when they gritted their teeth, their faces quickly turned purple. Black blood flowed from the corners of their mouths, and they died. Suicide? Zhang Yi frowned. Seeing this, Uncle Yu reached out and broke their jaws and said to Zhang Yi, "Poison is a capsule hidden between the teeth. Many scouts will do this. It is to avoid being captured and leaking information." Zhang Yi took a breath helplessly. They are smart. Even if Zhang Yi promised to let them live, he would still kill them after exploring useful information. These people don't have too many illusions. But they died just like that. I don't know what purpose they came here for. At this moment, Fatty Zhu ran over panting behind him. He held a black crossbow bolt in his hand, with a white cloth tied on it. "Boss, they left something behind. Take a look." Seeing this, Zhang Yi shrank his pupils and immediately scolded Fatty Zhu, "Stop, don't move." Chapter 381 Negotiations. Fatty Zhu was so frightened by Zhang Yi's scolding that he stood still and did not dare to move. He looked at the crossbow in his hand and then realized something. His face paled for a while. He only came here to ask Zhang Yi for credit, but forgot that there might be poison smeared on it, or even a miniature bomb inside. In this era, when human lives are worthless, the enemy will not have any morals with you. If they want to kill you, they will do everything they can. Slowly, put down the crossbow in your hand. Zhang Yi cautiously reminded Fatty Zhu. Fatty Zhu trembled, squatted down slowly, and carefully placed the crossbow bolt on the ice. "Back off." Zhang Yi made a gesture to Fatty Zhu, and then quickly opened the different space to put the crossbow in. His different space can be divided into separate areas. Even if there is a bomb in the crossbow, it can be detonated inside. Zhang Yi unwrapped the white cloth in the different space. It turned out that no bomb was found, just a handwritten letter. "Gauntlet? Or do you want to negotiate with me?" Zhang Yi didn't dare to be careless. He raised his head and glanced at Fatty Zhu. He was wearing thick gloves, even if the poison on the crossbow bolt couldn't penetrate it. Zhang Yi reminded, "Throw away your gloves and change a pair." Fatty Zhu understood Zhang Yi's meaning and ignored the cold, hurriedly took off his gloves and then flung them away like avoiding snakes and scorpions. Zhang Yi took Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu back to the shelter. He first called Zhao Ke, came to her infirmary and asked Zhao Ke to check the crossbow bolts and cloth strips. "Take a look to see if there is any poison on it," Zhang Yi said with a serious face. Seeing Zhang Yi being so cautious, Zhao Ke couldn't help but ask, "Since they are here to send letters, they probably wouldn't use this method? Be careful sailing for thousands of years. When you are the most relaxed, it is often the time when the enemy is the easiest to succeed." Zhang Yi said calmly. Uncle Yu also nodded beside him and said in agreement, "On the battlefield, any sloppy actions may cost lives. This loss, we did not suffer less back then." Zhao Ke blinked. Although she understood in her heart, she still felt that Zhang Yi and the others were a little too cautious when facing a crossbow. However, she still put on gloves and inspected the crossbow bolts and white cloth very professionally. As a result, after dripping the test agent on it, Zhao Ke clearly saw a color change on it. Her face also changed instantly. Really poisonous. Fatty Zhu was so frightened that his face turned pale. Thinking of how careless he was just now, if he hadn't been wearing gloves, he might have lost his life at this time, so his legs felt a little weak. Zhang Yi was relatively calm. There can be no slack for the enemy. They are thinking about taking our lives all the time. The reason why I can guess this is because if I were them, I would also use this method. After all, if I can kill one, it is one. Zhao Yi took a glass cover from the side and covered the crossbow in the white cloth. There are words on it. Would you like to come and have a look? Zhang Yi walked over cautiously, and sure enough, he saw a string of strange codes written on the unfolded white cloth. What is this? He thought it was something like a gauntlet, but he didn't expect it to be a string. The few people present did not recognize anyone, so Zhang Yi had no choice but to go over and call Yang Xingxin, who is proficient in computer technology, over. He didn't hide it from Liang Yu and called her over together. After all, those students are bound to die, and the outcome has already been decided. If Zhang Yi concealed something from Liang Yu, it would arouse her suspicion instead. Liang Yu was also very concerned about the items sent by the Yangsheng base, and rushed to the infirmary with Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen. Yang Xingxin recognized the string of characters at the first glance. This is an address. If I guess correctly, you can use this address to contact the Yangsheng base. Zhang Yi asked calmly, is it safe? Yang Xingxin's mouth raised a confident smile. Brother, with me here, do you think it will be dangerous? Zhang Yi smiled and nodded. That's good. I knew Xingxin, you are the best. Yang Xingxin's face flushed slightly, and her smile deepened. Liang Yu took a deep breath and asked nervously, that is to say, it is now certain that the people from Yangsheng base kidnapped my students, right? Zhang Yi said, if there are no accidents, it should be them. How can there be so many coincidences in this world? Liang Yu said, okay, contact them quickly. See what they want to do. Zhang Yi didn't speak, but crossed his arms and lowered his head to think for a while. The other party took the initiative to send the contact information. There are nothing more than two possibilities. The first way is to use the bargaining chip in hand to negotiate with Zhang Yi to obtain the maximum benefit. In that case, Zhang Yi's killing of Gao Yuan and others will also be liquidated. Moreover, they had Liang Yu's students in their hands, and they might tentatively consider their value in exchange for something. Second, I want to test Zhang Yi through communication and see how much energy Zhang Yi has in his hands. Yangsheng base can now be sure that Zhang Yi is the murderer who killed Gao Yuan and others, but they didn't rush to attack because they didn't understand Zhang Yi's whole cards, so they didn't dare to act rashly. After Zhang Yi thought about it, he came to the conclusion that he could communicate with the Yangsheng base. The other party hopes to test him through communication, so why doesn't he want to test the other party's attitude? And he needs to act for Liang Yu to make her think that he has worked hard to rescue Wu Chengaiyu and others. After thinking about it, Zhang Yi raised his head and said, okay, then talk to them. Liang Yu looked happy, thinking that there was hope for rescuing the students. But Zhang Yi said to her seriously, but Liang Yu, there is one thing I must tell you clearly in advance. I can understand that you are eager to save people, but communicating with them is no child's play. It is very dangerous. Once we reveal any flaws, they will attack without hesitation. So you can watch from the sidelines, but you can't show that you care too much about the students. Otherwise, they will definitely make the lion talk. Do you understand? Liang Yu bowed her head and pondered for a moment, then nodded firmly. Okay, I promise you. Ah, that's good. Zhang Yi looked at Yang Xingxin. Xingxin, you can arrange to contact him. The negotiation process does not require too many people. But since Liang Yu was allowed to watch from the side, there was no need for others to avoid suspicion. Zhang Yi asked them to listen to the conversation between the two, but not to speak. Everyone has no comments. Zhang Yi decided to communicate with the people of the Yangsheng base in the living room. Others sat on the sides, waiting nervously for the conversation to start. Yang Xingxin opened her notebook, sent a call request through that network address, and then put the notebook on the coffee table, facing Zhang Yi. The call request passed for a long time, and it took a full 3 minutes before there was any movement. Hey, a deep man's voice came. Zhang Yi sneered. Hi, I'm Zhang Yi. There was a moment of silence over there. Wait a moment. The call continued, and not long after, a cold woman's voice appeared again. You are Zhang Yi, the leader of the organizations around Zujia Town and Yonk Manor? Zhang Yi asked. Who are you? Heh, I'm the leader of the shelter organization in Yangsheng district Zhao Honglian. The person I sent to Hangyu Materials Factory was killed by you, right? Satellite phones have been discovered, and there is no need to deny it. And no matter whether Zhang Yi admits it or not, the Yangsheng base will come to fight sooner or later when it comes to turf disputes. So Zhang Yi did not deny it. He just asked back, is it your people who arrested people from Zujia town yesterday? Zhao Hanglian, then you admit it? Zhang Yi, in other words, you really did it? Neither of them directly answered the other's question, but this was the most obvious answer. In the office of the Yangsheng base, Zhao Han practiced her eyes and showed murderous intent. Those who dare to kill me, you are so brave. No one in Qianhe City dares to attack my Yangsheng base. Zhang Yi, you already have the means to die. Zhang Yi just smiled disdainfully. This sentence sounds familiar. The last person who said this to me has turned into ashes. Oh, by the way, you may have heard his name before. His name is Chen Xinian. Zhao Hanglian's eyes focused. Sure enough, the demise of the Zishan base was related to this mysterious force. Zhang Yi, how strong are you? In terms of force, the Zishan base is the strongest in Qianhe City. If Zhang Yilian can destroy the Zishan base, then naturally they can also destroy the Yangsheng base. However, Zhao Hanglian was not completely intimidated by Zhang Yi. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? The Zishan base was destroyed because of that missile. You are too arrogant to take all the achievements on yourself. Hehe, do you think you understand it well? Zhang Yi sneered. Then why don't you think about it? Why did a missile attack the Zishan base? Zhao Hanglian's tone stagnated, and his expression became more and more serious. That's right. That night, all the forces in Qianhe City were frightened by the missile flying from the north. They don't have a channel to communicate with the upper level organization, and they don't know the ins and outs of this matter. So when Zhang Yi said this, she immediately felt that the missile might be Zhang Yi trying to find a way to ask for help. Just because you are a warehouse supervisor? Zhang Yi said lightly, don't bother to try again. Do you think I will tell you? I just hope that you can recognize the reality in the future and obediently get the hell out of here. If I can kill one batch of your men, I can kill the second batch. Having said that, he glanced at Liang Yu, who was full of anxiety, and the few students you took away were sent to me honestly. Otherwise, I won't spare you. Chapter 382. You are not allowed to touch my beloved student. Zhang Yi's words directly angered Zhao Hanglian. After all, she is also the leader of one of the largest organizations in Qianhe City, and it is impossible for a cowardly person to sit in this position. Zhang Yi's threat made her slap the table directly. Insanity. Destroy us? Do you have the strength? I don't believe that you really have the ability to mobilize missiles. If you were really that powerful, the entire Qianhe City would have been your territory long ago. Believe it or not, I'll chop up all those students right now and send their bodies back to you. Liang Yu on the side heard it with his heart in his throat and frantically gave Zhang Yi hints with his eyes. Zhang Yi also showed a stern expression and said in a deep voice, don't do such a stupid thing. Those poor guys are of no value to us. It won't affect us if you kill them. Zhao Hanglian sneered. But it doesn't sound like it. I think you seem a little nervous about their life and death. It looks like I really got a good deck of cards. Zhang Yi frowned, looking embarrassed. This made Liang Yu feel guilty. She knew that the reason why Zhang Yi was so entangled was to help her. Originally, he didn't need to care about the lives of those students. Thank you, Zhang Yi. You are such a good person. Liang Yu said to Zhang Yi in his heart. Zhang Yi said, those students are very important to my friends, but they have no effect on you. Well, let's talk. How can you let them go? The smile on the corner of Zhao Hanglian's mouth became more and more intense. She was sure that she had grasped Zhang Yi's weakness. I haven't thought about it yet. Let me think about it. Zhao Hanglian put her two long legs on the mahogany table and began to think about how to negotiate the price with Zhang Yi. Want Zhang Yi to pay for his life? That's impossible. It's tantamount to tearing the face apart, and the final result is to go to war directly. It's better to test it first to see where Zhang Yi's bottom line is. Zhao Hanglian opened his mouth to make a condition. Zhang Yi, you killed my cousin and his soldiers. Now your people are in my hands again. If you want someone, exchange it with the supplies in your hand. I know that all the materials in the South China warehouse were in your hands. I don't want much, half. If you give me half of the supplies, I will return them to you, and the matter of killing my cousin can be written off. From then on, we will not violate the river. How about it? Zhao Hanglian's eyes were playful. If Zhang Yi agrees to this condition, it means that Zhang Yi is a stupid guy. At the same time, it also proved that after the battle with Zishan base, he didn't have much power left, so he didn't have the guts to fight against Yangsheng base. Faced with this kind of lion's big mouth, Zhang Yi directly refused. Impossible. You don't even have to think about it. Zhao Hang said coldly, if you don't agree, then the only way is war. Do you think I'm playing house with you? Zhang Yi smiled and said, could it be that you think the Yangsheng base is stronger than the Zishan base? Zhao Hanglian sneered and said, but after the battle with Zishan base, your vitality will be seriously injured, right? What's more, as far as I know, you killed not only our Yangsheng base, but also people from Chaoyu base. I can join forces with Chaoyu base to attack you. At that time, do you think you have the strength to contend against the coalition forces of the two bases? Zhao Hanglian's face was full of arrogance, and his tone was contemptuous. I only want half of the supplies in your hands, which is a very conscientious price. Don't wait until things get out of hand, and it will be too late for you to regret it. Zhang Yi's tone was very calm. So you think so? But I want to tell you, you don't know anything about our strength. If you really intend to come to die, then come here. I will kill every piece of you and smash your ridiculous arrogance. Zhang Yi changed the subject, but you don't need to target those students. They are useless. I hope you can return them to me. The more Zhang Yi said that, the more suspicious Zhao Hanglian became. Do those students really matter? Otherwise, how could Zhang Yi never leave important people? If you say pay it back, don't I lose face? Zhao Hanglian sneered and said, unless you accept my conditions, this matter is out of the question. Zhang Yi frowned. Zhao Hanglian, don't bully others too much. Those students are innocent. What are you trying to do to me? Kill kill kill. You can kill those students quickly. Do you know how troublesome it is for me to act? Please, I beg you, don't give me face. It seems that they are very important to you. The more you say that, I won't let them go. And I will torture them severely, so that they cannot live or die. And all this is because of you, Zhang Yi. Zhao Hanglian thought he had grasped Zhang Yi's weakness, and was very proud of it. You just sink in pain and regret. Zhang Yi, don't go too far. Those students are students of women I cherish very much. You are not allowed to hurt them. If you dare to torture them, and make them suffer, I will definitely make you pay a heavy price. Zhao Hanglian's gaze sank. Hehe, are you threatening me? Okay, then you just wait for me, and I'll let you see if I dare. The call came to an abrupt end here. Zhao Hanglian cut off the call, and judging from her final tone, she will definitely torture Wu Chenggai and other students. Zhang Yi slapped the table angrily. It's so deceiving. What do you have to do to me? Don't vent your anger on those innocent students. After saying that, he stood up. We can't be so passive anymore. Now we set off immediately, go to Yangsheng base to save people. He looked at Fatty Zhu, Uncle Yu and the others. This time going to Yangsheng base is not like the attack on Zishan base last time. The right time, place, and people are not on our side. So don't go there. This matter has nothing to do with you, and I don't want you to be involved. Everyone present was shocked when they heard what Zhang Yi said. Only a few people who knew Zhang Yi better felt that it was a bit weird. But at this time Zhang Yi made a gesture of going to the Zishan base to die. Of course they had to stop it. So a group of people hurried over to stop Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi, don't be impulsive. Not only can you not save people in the past, you may even get involved yourself. That is a force that is not weaker than the Zishan base. And they are on guard. You will only die if you go there. Fatty Zhu said in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Boss, it's almost done. Let's pass the show again. Zhang Yi pretended to struggle a few times, then sighed in vain. They deceived people too much. They didn't take us seriously at all. They even took Liang Yu's students under our noses. He slammed his fist hard on the sofa. I promised Liang Yu that I would help her take care of these students. Liang Yu looked at Zhang Yi, who was desperate for her and was deeply moved. She walked over and placed her right hand lightly on Zhang Yi's shoulder. Zhang Yi, don't be impulsive. This matter is not your problem. You can only blame me for not protecting them well. Chapter 383, Convincing Liang Yu. There was a look of relief in Liang Yu's eyes. She watched Zhang Yi work hard, but the enemy she faced this time was too powerful. It is no longer a situation where a few strangers can rush over to save people. If they had a head-to-head confrontation with Yangsheng base, they would still have an advantage in defense, but if they attacked, they would fall into a disadvantage. Because Zhang Yi devoted almost all his resources to the defense of Yangmana from the very beginning. You have tried your best, thank you for being willing to help me, but this matter has nothing to do with you, and I don't want to drag you down. There was a faint smile on the corner of Liang Yu's mouth, but Zhang Yi felt something was wrong with her expression. Liang Yu, what do you want to do? To find a home for my own soul. Liang Yu smiled calmly. After she finished speaking, she turned around and walked towards her room regardless of the other people present. The living room was very quiet, and everyone felt that something was wrong with Liang Yu's mood. After Liang Yu left, Zhao Ken said a little worriedly, Liang Yu, doesn't she want to save people by herself? Zhang Yi touched his chin and said puzzledly, didn't I impress her just now? Fatty Zhu chuckled, leaned over meanly and said, boss, your acting skills are really good, but it looks too fake. A black line hung down Zhang Yi's forehead. Is it fake? I won the third prize in the Springfield Huahua Kindergarten performance competition. Fatty Zhu sighed, but the key is, who would believe such righteous words from your mouth? Zhang Yi glanced around, and everyone nodded silently. Zhang Yi spread his hands speechlessly. Well, at least I also express my support for her. Uncle Yu said, I can't blame you for this matter. Among all of us, except Liang Yu, none of us has anything to do with those students. And they don't know how to support themselves. They are all a bunch of slackers. Keeping them will not help, but will cause trouble. Even a kind-hearted person like Uncle Yu can say such things, which shows how unpopular those students are. Of course, this is also related to the previous encounter between Lu Karen and Yang Xingxin. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa, propped his chin with both hands and said, anyway, everyone knows that we are very likely to face a war. All defensive measures were prepared a few days ago, and there is no need to be particularly alarmed. The attitude of Zhao Honglian just now was very arrogant, and it can be seen that they don't have a clear understanding of our strength. Everyone nodded, although there was a little nervousness in their hearts, but not much. After all, they have experienced repelling the Zishan base, and then re-strengthened the defense line and added helpers. Lu Karen looked at the direction of Liang Yu's departure, but said worriedly, but what about Teacher Liang? Zhang Yi said to her and Yang Xingxin, you two go over and persuade her. Don't let her do stupid things. Lu Karen sighed, I'm afraid I won't be able to persuade her. Teacher Liang's personality is very gentle, but if he becomes stubborn, even 9 bulls won't be able to pull her back. Try as hard as you can. We can only do this. Zhang Yi said. Lu Karen nodded helplessly, then pushed Yang Xingxin to find Liang Yu together. Zhang Yi's face was surprisingly calm. He has already taken care of Liang Yu's matter. Those students are still alive, and out of her own beliefs, she will do whatever it takes to save them. However, as long as those students died, Liang Yu's obsession would disappear. At that time, it will be dull for a while at most, and he will naturally be able to come out of the shadows. And she, who has nothing to worry about, will transfer the fetters to Zhang Yi and others. A single-minded person can be a nuisance at times. But as long as you use it properly, she will become the best and most reliable helper. At that time, Zhang Yi will have the sharpest knife. After Liang Yi returned to the room, she took a tang knife from the knife holder. Ever since her looming was taken away by Zhang Yi, she had no intention of returning it to her. Liang Yu accepted her fate and did not ask for it. However, she also got a good sword at the Zishan base, which can be used for looming. Standing in front of the window, Liang Yu slowly pulled out the tang saber, then picked up the white towel next to it, and slowly wiped the blade. Dang dang. There was a knock on the door outside. Liang Yu didn't close the door. She turned her head and saw that it was Lu Karen pushing Yang Xingxin over. The eyes of her two students were full of concern. "Mr. Liang, are you okay?" Yang Xingxin asked. "Yeah, looking at you, we are so worried." Lu Karen also showed worry. Liang Yu took a deep breath. "I'm fine. I just suddenly figured it out and knew what I should do." Yang Xingxin's eyes were fixed. "Mr. Liang, do you want to go alone to rescue others?" The calmer Liang Yu behaved, the more worried Yang Xingxin became. Lu Karen was surprised and said, "Mr. Liang, the other party is a huge Al-Qaeda organization. You can't save anyone by going there alone. You can only die in vain." "Why doesn't Liang Yu know?" She looked up at the ceiling helplessly. "I understand the truth. But I also know that I can only rely on myself to do this matter." Lu Karen hurriedly said, "Don't worry, didn't Zhang Yi say that he would help you solve the problem?" Liang Yu suddenly laughed when he heard the words. She walked gently to the two students and touched their faces. "Don't think that the teacher is really a fool. Zhang Yi has already helped me a lot, and I'm very grateful to him from the bottom of my heart. But I understand that he is such a cautious person. It is impossible to take risks for me." Lu Karen's expression was a little embarrassed. Sure enough, Zhang Yi's acting skills did not fool Liang Yu. Liang Yu blinked and said with a gratified smile, "But, although I know that most of what he said is false, I'm still very happy that he is willing to do that. At least it proves that he still cares about me." A strange light flashed in Yang Xingxin's eyes. "But even so, are you still going to die?" Liang Yu closed her eyes, and after a moment of silence, she said, "I know you can't understand this kind of behavior, and you think I'm a stupid woman. But you don't understand that if I let them be killed by the people of Yangsheng Base and do nothing, my whole life will be immersed in endless regret and guilt. This kind of mental torture is worse than killing me. Therefore, I would rather die for the salvation of my soul than live on with my sins." Lu Karen didn't know how to refute what Liang Yu said. She knew Liang Yu as a person, and Liang Yu's explanation did fit her style. Thinking about it carefully, if she had abandoned Yang Xingxin in King Academy and lived alone, she must have lived in endless guilt. That feeling is more painful than death. Liang Yu's gaze softened, as warm as the sun in March melting ice and snow. She touched the faces of the two students. "Fortunately, you are living well now. At least in the end, my efforts were not in vain. I hope you can carry the hope of all of us and live well. Although that guy Zhang Yi sometimes seems quite unreasonable, but I can tell that he treats you very well. Follow him, and you can live well in the last days." After Liang Yu finished speaking, she turned around and picked up Tang Dao. A look of determination flashed in her eyes. But just when she was about to leave, Yang Xingxin suddenly lowered her head and said in a low tone, "No, that's not the case. If Teacher Liang leaves, Xingxin may not be far from death." These words made Liang Yu's footsteps stagnate. She looked at Yang Xingxin in astonishment. "Xingxin, what do you mean?" Yang Xingxin raised her head slowly. Her immature and lovely face was so pitiful at this moment. 2 lines of tears hung on both sides of her cheeks. "If Teacher Liang leaves, Xingxin and Karen will also be punished." Lu Karen's expression was a little surprised. "Punishment? What punishment?" Liang Yu was originally a calf-protecting woman. Seeing Yang Xingxin's charming expression, her heart couldn't take it anymore. She knelt down in distress and gently held her arm with both hands. "Xingxin, what's going on? You and Teacher Liang should explain clearly. If anyone dares to bully me, I will never spare him." Yang Xingxin rubbed her eyes crying. Because of polio, she has been unable to move her legs, so she looks weak, and she is the easiest to get the teacher's care. At this time, crying again, Liang Yu's heart was in turmoil. Yang Xingxin said, "Brother Zhang Yi gave me and can ran a task and must keep Teacher Liang. In my brother's heart, Teacher Liang is a very important woman. If we hadn't kept Teacher Liang, even if Brother Zhang Yi wouldn't do anything to us, we wouldn't have the face to stay in the shelter. So Mr. Liang, if you want to leave, then bring Xingxin and Karen with you. At least we can still die together." She looked at Liang Yu eagerly. "In this way, even if you die in battle, we will follow you immediately. You will not have any worries anymore." Yang Xingxin cried, and then revealed a lot of information to Liang Yu, which immediately made Liang Yu flustered. "What? This? How could this be?" The amount of information was too large, which made her brain a little bit down. When she heard that Zhang Yi cared about her, her face immediately turned red. But she had to try her best to hide her inner fluctuations in front of the students. Not everyone has experienced life and death like Zhang Yi, and they are very indifferent to emotions. Women are emotional animals. After spending so long with Zhang Yi, her heart is affected by various factors, so it is inevitable that she will be a little ambiguous. She was just a little skeptical before, but now that Yang Xingchen said it herself, she was convinced that Zhang Yi liked her. Although she didn't want to admit it, Liang Yu was indeed very happy at the moment. The heart of the old girl who has been silent for 27 years can't stop once it starts to vibrate. Chapter 384. Liang Yu had mixed feelings in her heart. At first, after knowing that Zhang Yi had special feelings for her, he was quite happy. Secondly, Yang Xingchen's question made her worry again. She can give up her own life, but she can't give up her students. What's more, there are 2 top students that she likes very much. I can't live selfishly alone. Liang Yu sighed, already a little shaken in her heart. But what he said just now sounds so good. He is going to fight for his own heart, and now it is hard to take back what he said. Yang Xingchen understood Liang Yu very well, so she said, "You can die for them. Why can't you live for me and Karen? Teacher Liang, we need you." Yang Xingchen held Liang Yu's hand eagerly, her eyes full of pleading. Luke Karen also hurriedly said, "Teacher Liang, we cannot do without you. Think about it, Xingchen and I are ordinary people without supernatural powers. In case of any danger in the future, we need your protection." Liang Yu's heart was shaken even more. "But I can't just watch other people die," Yang Xingchen said. "Aren't they still alive now? If they can live, all the value is on you. So you can't die. Next, we still have room to discuss with the Yangsheng base. Just wait a little longer." After the persuasion of the 2 students, Liang Yu temporarily gave up her plan to find the Yangsheng base. She sighed lightly. Well, it can only be like this now. Yang Xingchen nodded obediently and finally burst into tears. After securing Liang Yu, Luke Karen pushed Yang Xingchen out of her room. After going out, all the expressions on Yang Xingchen's face disappeared in an instant, and she regained her rational and extremely calm. "Xingchen, brother, does he really like Teacher Liang?" Luke Karen leaned into Yang Xingchen's ear and asked gossipingly. "Fake, I just lied to her." A playful smile rose from the corner of Yang Xingchen's mouth. The thing that an old girl like Teacher Liang can't deal with most is feelings. As long as she knows that someone likes her, her heart will be messed up. "If you don't look like this, how can you persuade her to stay?" Luke Karen's eyes widened. "Good guy, you're playing tricks with Mr. Liang here." Yang Xingchen said disapprovingly, "I'm doing it for her own good. This silly woman will die if she disagrees with her." After pausing for a moment, she said in a deeper tone, "But if she can stay in the shelter, it will definitely be a good thing for you and me. Brother Zhang Yi, he doesn't know how to support idlers." These words made Luke Karen's heart tremble. In her impression, Zhang Yi has always been a gentle big brother. But in an instant, she thought of the time when the 2 met for the first time. It was underground in the Azure Academy, buried in ice and snow. At that time, Zhang Yi looked at her without any warmth in his eyes. "Then make yourself more useful," Luke Karen thought to himself. "And I think that elder brother actually likes me a little bit." She pursed her lips slightly. The girl still had some other small thoughts in her heart. After all, which girl doesn't have a spring? They always like to think about things in a better direction, especially when it comes to the men they like. They are more likely to fall in love. Soon, Zhang Yi knew that they had appeased Liang Yu. Zhang Yi's heart relaxed a little. He couldn't lose Liang Yu. There may be a big battle between the shelter and the Yangsheng base and Zaoyu base in the near future. Liang Yu, a powerful alien, is a good helper. I understand. Thank you for your hard work. Zhang Yi smiled and said to the 2 girls. He looked out of the window. Heavy snow fell one after another. The courtyard was completely white, and a tall ice and snow barrier stood on the periphery of Young Manor, like a city wall that could not be broken. It's time for the medicine to take effect. Yangsheng base. After Zhao Hanglian ended the call with Zhang Yi, the smile on the corner of his mouth became more and more intense. Because Zhang Yi tried his best to show strength, but she saw a trace of helplessness. Especially when talking about Liang Yu's students. His tone softened immediately. What does this mean? First, it shows that Zhang Yi's sanctuary was seriously injured after the battle with Zishan base, so Zhang Yi did not dare to clash with Yangsheng and Zhaoyu bases again. Second, explain that those students are very important to Zhang Yi. This means that Zhao Hanglian has grasped Zhang Yi's handle and can use this to ruthlessly plunder Zhang Yi. And the best result, of course, is to pull out that mail directly, and then she occupies most of the original territory of Zishan base. In this way, her Yangsheng base can become the most powerful force in Xianhe City. According to those students, there are several other people under Zhang Yi's subordinates. If they are all sent to my subordinates, the strength of the entire Yangsheng base will be greatly enhanced. The more Zhao Hanglian thought about it, the more excited she became. Zhu Qingting congratulated from the side. According to the current situation, it's only a matter of time before they compromise. I think we must take action as soon as possible to take down Zhang Yi's power. If it is later, maybe other organizations will also take action. Zhao Hanglian waved her hand. Don't worry, she said cautiously. It's better to investigate first before deciding when to make a move. You know, there are more than one enemy around us. Once we invest our troops to attack Zhang Yi's shelter, the other three may attack our headquarters. They all want our refinery, Zhu Qingting said, but the opportunity is fleeting. If you miss it, maybe someone else will come and share this piece of fat. Zhao Hanglian glanced at him. I'd rather do nothing than make mistakes. Everyone in the Yangsheng base now cares about it. If we make any mistakes, we will all die. Don't pick up sesame seeds and lose watermelon. Zhu Qingting quickly bowed his head and said, yes, I will follow your order. Then what shall we do next? Zhao Hanglian put his hands behind his back, with a confident expression on his face. Since Zhang Yi cares so much about those students, let's add fire to his heart. Send someone to teach them a good lesson, and then take a video and send it to Zhang Yi. In addition, focus on collecting information about everything around Zhang Yi. We have to figure out their specific defense forces before we can act. Don't underestimate the enemy. We can't afford to lose. Zhu Qingting nodded. Yes, leader. He bowed deeply to Zhao Hanglian, then slowly stepped back 3 steps, and then quickly walked towards the dungeon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385 Poison Hair. After Zhu Qingting came to the dungeon, he found those students with explosive collars around their necks and desperate faces. There was a cruel smile on the corner of his mouth, and he asked for a whip from the jailer next to him. It's time to treat our guests well. Under the desperate eyes of Wu Chengyu and others, the jailers dragged them out. Zhu Qingting did it himself and tortured them. Sentencing. This is a technical job. If one accidentally hits a vital point, the person who is hit will die. Zhu Qingting is a master in execution. He knew how to make people miserable without being fatal. And this time the main purpose is to show Zhang Yi, break Zhang Yi's heart, and facilitate subsequent negotiations. Therefore, the nature of performance is relatively deep, and more tricks are needed. For example, throw them into a metal bucket full of earthworms, or a damp cave full of cockroaches. Under the dungeon, screams continued to be heard. It was not only physical torture, but also mental torture. Zhu Qingting triumphantly held up the video equipment and recorded the wonderful shots. But while patting, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. A student suddenly fell to the ground, the corners of his mouth twitched non-stop, and a large amount of white foam spit out from his mouth. Huh? What's going on? These students are important pawns, so they can't just die like this. Zhu Qingting is very measured about his methods, and he won't let them die. He stopped what he was doing and went over to check it out. And after the student finished vomiting the white foam, he suddenly vomited a lot of vomit, and at the same time a foul smell came from his body. Zhu Qingting was too close, and he was dizzy from being smoked, so he quickly took a few steps back. The student was lying on the ground, his body convulsing more and more violently. His pants were wet a lot, and feces and urine were seeping out. Poisoned. Zhuge Qingting understood in an instant that this student was a typical sign of poisoning, and the poison had already developed. With the current medical conditions, there is no way to treat him. The student was still convulsing, and not far away, another student who was hung up with his hands bound kept vomiting. Her expression was twisted in pain, and she swallowed hard, not wanting to spit it out. But after smelling that disgusting smell, he finally couldn't help but spit out a lot of paste. How did they get poisoned? Zhuge Qingting's eyes were full of puzzlement. It's not a food poisoning reaction. Food poisoning doesn't react so violently. Someone obviously drugged them. Zhuge Qingting was still thinking, and soon several students had a poisoning reaction. Zhuge Qingting's scalp felt a little numb. If all these people died at his hands, it would be difficult to explain to Zhao Honglian. He hurriedly took out the communicator and reported the incident to Zhao Honglian. What? Poisoned? Zhao Honglian frowned slightly. These students are still useful to her. They can't just die like this. Is there any salvation? It seems hopeless. They were deeply poisoned. 2 of them have already died. Give them gastric lavage. 1 can be saved. Zhao Honglian ordered. Zhuge Qingting had no choice but to ask people to rush to prepare the materials for gastric lavage. Go directly to the toilet and bring me a few buckets of fesses. Soon, several large barrels of foul-smelling fesses were carried to the dungeon. The faces of the students who have not yet had an attack are pale. No, I don't want it. I'm not poisoned. I don't want to drink this stuff. They would rather die than drink dung water. But how can this kind of thing be left to them? The jailer trapped them tightly against the wall, and then inserted a funnel into their mouths, and poured a large bucket of fesses directly into their mouths. Wu Chenggai and the others rolled their eyes straight, with expressions of lovelessness on their faces. At this moment, their hearts were already dead. After a few large buckets of manure were poured down, the remaining students, although not dead, looked no better than dead people. Zhuge Qingting did not dare to continue the execution, for fear of torturing them to death. He called the doctor at the base, and asked him to perform an examination on these students. After the doctor came over, he couldn't help pinching his nose and saying fuck. So smelly. Even though he had been a doctor for many years, he had never experienced such a scene. After all, serious stomach lavages all have special liquids. Who knows how long the fesses in the cesspit have been fermented. Ahem. The conditions are limited, and we are in a hurry, so we have to deal with it with dung water first. Zhuge Qingting coughed. Dr. Li, get over it and show them. Dr. Li looked at Zhuge Qingting, who was standing far away, speechless. Let me get over that you ran that far by yourself. But Zhuge Qingting is the second in command of the base after all, and Dr. Li still has to obey his orders. He put on several layers of masks, and then went to check a few people. When he opened Wu Chenggai's eyelids, he shook his head helplessly. The poisoning is deep, and this is no longer a problem that gastric lavage can solve. Out of professionalism, he still checked every student's body. Then he made a conclusion to Zhuge Qingting. The toxins in these people's bodies have been deposited for a long time, and someone gave them chronic poison. In the past, with good medical conditions, a life could be saved. But now I can't save them. Zhuge Qingting's heart sank slowly. All the people they worked so hard to capture back were all dying? So why do they spend so much effort? And a mystery gradually enlarged in his heart. That is, why would a Highland satellite phone be found in their house? Obviously, they don't have the strength to kill the plateau team. Could it be that someone deliberately wanted to kill them, but it was inconvenient to do so, and then borrowed a knife? Thinking of this, Zhuge Qingting's pupils suddenly shrank. Oops, hit the jackpot. Now it's really become someone else's knife. Zhuge Qingting hurriedly went to Zhao Honglian and told her his guess. These people were poisoned with chronic poison, and then they were deliberately placed in Zujia town, using satellite phones on the plateau as bait to lure us over. Although I don't know what the other party's purpose is, all of this was planned by others. After Zhao Honglian finished listening, her eyes sharpened. But what are they doing this for? Using a group of poison waste to count us? It doesn't affect us. Or is it that Zhang Yi and his own people want to kill these students, but it is not convenient to do it themselves? Zhuge Qingting adjusted his glasses. In short, these people won't survive tomorrow. I thought they could be used to blackmail Zhang Yi and get enough value. Now this idea is also unrealistic. Of course Zhao Hanglian and Zhuge Qingting didn't know that this plan was not aimed at them from the very beginning, but only used them as sabers. But Zhao Hanglian followed the principle of waste utilization and said, before they die, record a video and send it to Zhang Yi. If the poison on these people was not poisoned by him, then take the opportunity to scoop up a wave of wool. Chapter 386. The hostages are gone. What are you talking about with me? This side of the shelter. After Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen's persuasion, Liang Yu's excited mood gradually calmed down. She didn't take Tang Dao to find the people in Yangsheng base because of impulsiveness, but chose to discuss with Zhang Yi to see how to get them back. Zhang Yi immediately expressed generously that he was willing to exchange the resources in his hands for her students. It's useless for Yangsheng base to keep your students. I think they will accept my conditions, Zhang Yi said to Liang Yu. Sitting on the sofa, Liang Yu saw Zhang Yi's turned eyes and quickly moved her eyes away, not daring to meet his gaze. Ever since Yang Xingxin said those words to Liang Yu, there was a strange emotion in her heart. Even if Zhang Yi said a word to her, she would have a lot of reverie. It would be the best if that's the case. I'm worried that they will torture my students insanely. Liang Yu sighed softly, his tone still full of worry. Zhang Yi curled his lips quietly. He knew that those students would definitely die to see Liang Yu again. However, after those students confirmed their death, what would Liang Yu's reaction be? Zhang Yi couldn't understand Liang Yu's heart, but he thought it was a great relief for Liang Yu to judge others by himself. At the very least, she can let go of her burden with peace of mind, without any moral burden. After chatting with Liang Yu, Zhang Yi began to silently wait for the Yangsheng base to contact him. Sure enough, not long after, he received a call request from Yangsheng base. This time it's a video call. After Yang Xingxin called Zhang Yi to the control room, Zhang Yi closed the door, and only the two of them participated in the call. After Zhang Yi connected, he saw the other party's appearance for the first time. What appeared in front of him was not Zhao Hanglian, the leader of the Yangsheng base, but a tall, thin long-haired man with stern eyes. Zhang Yi, one day has passed. I don't know how you are thinking. Contacting you today is to give you a gift, to help you make a decision, as soon as possible. Zhuge Qingting finished speaking with a sneer, and then a video was inserted into the call. It was impressively recorded when he tortured Wu Chenggai and others. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa and watched quietly, but there was no movement on his face. After reading it, he calmly asked, are they all still alive? Zhuge Qingting was quite surprised by this indifferent attitude. After all, when the two sides talked on the phone yesterday, Zhang Yi's attitude was completely different from today's. At that time, Zhang Yi was very concerned about the lives and deaths of these students, but today his tone and expression revealed a kind of straightforward indifference. Zhuge Qingting said in a deep voice, they are still alive now, but how long they can last is hard to say. Zhang Yi, the leader of my family, has changed his mind. Keeping these useless people will only waste rice, so I'd better give it back to you. But you need to exchange supplies. Everyone, we need 1 ton of food. Facing the opponent's line, Zhang Yi opened his mouth wide, and Zhang Yi still had a hint of playfulness on his expression. It's not impossible. It's just that I have to confirm that those people are still alive. Otherwise, I handed over the supplies to you, but only got back a bunch of corpses. Wouldn't it be too uneconomical? According to Zhao Ke's statement, the amount of medicine he added to the food would occur within a week. But to be on the safe side, he had to confirm that those people were dead before he could rest assured. Zhuge Qingting's eyes darkened. Many of those students had already died, and the rest had only 1 breath. If Zhang Yi saw it, he would definitely not accept the terms of exchange. You have seen people, they are still alive and well. This is just a video. I want to see the living people. Now, take me there to see them. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. His voice was undeniably tough. Just let me confirm that they are all alive, and I will arrange food for you immediately. Zhuge Qingting stared at Zhang Yi on the opposite side of the screen, and said quietly, Yangsheng base will not play silly tricks. It is useless for us to kill these people. How could we kill them? Your worries are unnecessary. Zhang Yi spread his hands. In that case, why not let me take a look? Take a look. I just take a look. But how could Zhuge Qingting let him see it? because just looking at it will. Mr. Zhang, I don't feel the slightest sincerity from you. Zhuge Qingting wanted to say something else, but Zhang Yi reached out and pressed the button to end the call. He leaned back on the chair and said to Yang Xingxin next to him, "They are already dead." Zhuge Qingting's actions proved this point. Yang Xingxin asked curiously, "Brother, how did you do it?" Zhang Yi said calmly, "I added some technology and hard work to their food." Yang Xingxin breathed a sigh of relief, and she showed a sunny smile. "That's great. Now, everyone will not be dragged down." Zhang Yi patted her head. "These 2 days, do a good job of psychological training for Liang Yu. Don't let the silly woman get overwhelmed. Ladies, it would be nice to coax more." Yang Xingxin tilted her head and looked at Zhang Yi playfully. "Actually, brother, you can do it yourself better than me." Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. "You mean you want me to enlighten her?" Yang Xingxin said with a smile. "This will definitely be very useful. You need to use an emotional knife to kill people." Zhang Yi just replied humorously, "But I'm worried that the next generation will become stupid. By the way, remember to keep this call confidential, and no one is allowed to tell it." Yang Xingxin nodded. "Don't worry, I know very well." In the next few days, the shelter remained as quiet and peaceful as usual. The women played mahjong and chatted, but now they would deliberately pull Liang Yu up, talk with her, and relieve her in a depression. The men, on the other hand, waited for the coming of the war in a seemingly relaxed manner. As the defensive side, their preparations have long been sufficient, and there is not much room for improvement. If a war really breaks out, they will be able to use their opponent's offensive methods to make moves. Conservative tactics are best, until more intelligence is obtained. Here at the Yangsheng base, the toxins in the students' bodies finally broke out, and each of them ended their lives in a very painful way. Zhuge Qingting found Zhao Hanglian helplessly, and reported the matter to her. "Now that everyone is dead, we have lost the bargaining chip to blackmail Zhang Yi." Zhao Hanglian frowned. Although he guessed that there was a high probability of such an ending, he was still a little depressed. She raised her head slowly, staring at Zhuge Qingting with beautiful and menacing eyes. "Then there is no other option but war." Chapter 387, Facing the Cruel Reality. 2 days later, Zhang Yi received another message from Yangsheng base, this time not a call request, but a video. Naturally, he and Yang Xingxin were the first to see it. After opening the video, a depressing scene appeared in front of my eyes. The background is a large factory iron frame in the snow. There are more than a dozen cold human heads suspended by ropes. Zhao Hanglian stood in front of the execution platform, staring at the camera with indifferent eyes, and said coldly, "Blood for blood, tooth for tooth." "Zhang Yi, this is just the beginning. Soon I will let you and your friends' heads hang on the execution platform of Yangsheng base." The video ends here. In the short 1-minute video, the meaning expressed is only 2 words: declare war. Zhao Hanglian beheaded all the students to sacrifice the flag, declaring that the war has begun. After watching this video, Zhang Yi was silent for a moment, and then took a sip of the hot coffee at hand. "It's finally dead, and it's considered clean." Yang Xingxin sighed lightly. "It's still the same ending." Zhang Yi looked at her, and asked with a smile, "Didn't you hate these people the most before? Are you unhappy now that they are dead?" Yang Xingxin shook her head. "I can't talk about being happy or sad. I really hate them, and I wish they would disappear from this world as soon as possible. It's just, I really feel a little sad when I really see that they are all dead." She lowered her head, her pale little hands clenched tightly together. "I'm very worried that one day in the future, my head will be hung up." A look of astonishment flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes, but soon he understood. No matter how smart and dark-bellied Yang Xingxin is, she is only an 18-year-old girl after all. Seeing the peers she had been with for many years die like this, it is natural for her to feel fear in her heart. Zhang Yi leaned over and hugged her with his strong arms. "Don't worry, I'm here. Brother won't let Xingxin die. Because I won't die, so you must be able to live well." Yang Xingxin is his important logistical support. Zhang Yi will protect her well and prevent her from any harm. Zhang Yi's warm chest made Yang Xingxin recover a little bit of body temperature. She put her hands on Zhang Yi's back, and her eyes slowly moistened. "Brother, it's great to have you here. Xingxin will definitely not hold you back and become a person who is useful to you." So, please don't abandon Xingxin no matter what, okay? If one day Xingxin becomes your burden, she will solve it by herself. After comforting Yang Xingxin, Zhang Yi decided to make this video public for everyone, especially Liang Yu, to see with their own eyes. She must give up completely before she can give up the obsession in her heart. But seeing this scene, teacher Liang might collapse. Yang Xingxin reminded Zhang Yi, "Oh, you need to be mentally prepared." Zhang Yi said, "Don't worry, I'm not only mentally prepared, but also practically prepared. If Liang Yu really broke down and wanted to go to the Yangsheng base to kill her, Zhang Yi would directly control her and first use a tranquilizer to let her rest at home for a while. All acts of devotion spring from impulse. No matter how lofty and great an ideal is, it can be changed. In the end, I will let her know clearly that living is everything. The purpose of living is just to live, and there is no need to add other reasons." Yang Xingxin nodded. "We will try our best to persuade her." Zhang Yi took out a small bag of medicine from his pocket and handed it to Yang Xingxin. "Put this in the coffee and let Liang Yu drink it." Yang Xingxin took it suspiciously and asked, "What is this?" "A drug that calms the mind," Zhang Yi said. Yang Xingxin did as Zhang Yi ordered. Liang Yu didn't have any doubts about the hot coffee that Yang Xingxin handed her and drank it readily. Zhang Yi calculated the time in his heart, and only after confirming that the drug had taken effect did he call everyone over. Before watching this video, he did not forget to remind everyone, the content of this video may be a bit cruel. I hope everyone can be mentally prepared and not get too excited. When she heard what Zhang Yi said, Liang Yu felt something was wrong in her heart. Because the video was sent by Yangsheng base. So, it's about her students? Zhang Yi took a deep look at Liang Yu and then opened the video. As a result, there were more than a dozen heads hanging high on the screen. The first time Liang Yu saw it, she felt that something exploded in her head and her brain went blank. Her students all died. For a moment, the world in front of Liang Yu turned upside down. She swayed a few times unsteadily, and other people's voices could be faintly heard in her ears. "Teacher Liang, what's wrong with you? Are you okay?" Then her eyes went black, and she collapsed to the ground. Luke Karen was nervous. "Teacher Liang, are you okay?" Zhang Yi walked over slowly and said calmly, "It's okay, just let her take some sedative drugs. Rest for a while and you'll be fine." Uncle Yu couldn't help, but shook his head and sighed. Ms. Liang is a good teacher who is dedicated to her duties. This matter is a big blow to her. I hope she can see it more clearly and don't get into a corner. Time heals the pain, and so does love. Zhang Yi helped Liang Yu up, carried her to her room, and put her on the bed. He said to Yang Xingxin and Luke Karen, "Take good care of her these 2 days, and help her resolve her emotions." He said to Zhao Ke again, "Give her a sedative to stabilize her mood. If it really doesn't work, increase the dose. I'd rather let her lie on the bed for a few more days than let her mess around." Zhao Ke nodded, "Understood." After Liang Yu was settled, everyone returned to the living room. Immediately afterwards, Zhang Yi began to discuss with everyone about the battle. The battle with Yangsheng base is inevitable. Maybe Chaoyu base will come with them. If you have to face 2 major bases at the same time, the defensive pressure will not be small. According to the original plan, rely on the first line of defense to fight, and wait until the first line of defense is breached, before retreating to the shelter. However, these 2 bases are not position base. I didn't kill many of them, and they have no reason to fight me. Basically, as long as they suffer a certain level of casualties, they will withdraw their troops. So overall, it won't be too difficult to deal with. What's more, our armed forces have also been greatly improved compared to before. That's why Zhang Yi didn't panic. He has no deadly enmity with Yangsheng base and Chaoyu base. Even if he killed Zhao Honglian's cousin and Wei Dinghei's confidant, the death of 1 or 2 people does not need to rise to the point of life and death. The real purpose of this battle is to fight for territory. If you are strong, they will respect and fear you. If you are weak, they will beat you and kill you. What Zhang Yi has to do is to prove his strength so that other organizations in Xianhai City will not dare to invade. Chapter 388 God 039 S left and right hands. After Zhao Honglian's video was sent, the shelter entered a state of alert. The more obvious point is that Zhang Yi and others wear combat uniforms every day when they sleep. Whenever an enemy strikes, they will immediately get up and fight back. However, within a short period of time, neither Zhao Hanglian nor Wei Dinghe planned to attack directly. Planning a large-scale war is not so easy. Especially the Yangsheng base and Zhaoyu base are far away from the shelter. If you want to go to war, you have to consider various issues such as logistical support and intelligence collection. The key is that they have to guard their base camp to prevent their home from being stolen by other forces. At the shelter, Liang Yu couldn't eat for several days because of the student's death. Zhang Yi asked Zhao Ke to give her a nutrient solution. A war is about to break out, and as one of the main combat forces, she can't just lie down all the time. But judging by her mental state, it will obviously take a long time for her to be freed from this matter. Zhang Yi didn't deliberately try to persuade her. Let her keep this remorse and hatred for Yangsheng base. After the war broke out in a few days, let her go out to kill and vent her inner emotions. Let the accumulated negative energy vent, and people will be fine. And at this moment, an old man in a white cloak appeared from the distant white snow and walked towards the shelter step by step. His walking was not fast, but very steady. Although he looked old, his footprints were deeply imprinted on the snow, leaving 2 lines of marks. He is a cleric of the snow worship cult, Grand Decree Zhao Jianhe. Braving the wind and snow, he arrived not far from the shelter step by step. Through a thick barrier of ice and snow, he looked up at the black shelter standing in the wind and snow. The wind and snow made him unable to open his eyes. But when he stood upright, a golden splendor flashed in those vicissitudes of grey eyes. And in his eyes, the whole world changed color. The world is like an unrolled scroll, with colorful ink and ink on it. Suddenly, his body trembled slightly. In his eyes, there was an incomparably vast aura hovering over the shelter. Its momentum was so great that it even covered the entire sky above the shelter. Besides that one, there are such powerful aliens in the world. Could it be that he is the right hand of the god? Zhao Jianhe, the great decree of Zhuo. Ability, look forward to gas. He could see the breath of everyone. All living people have ki, and the stronger the vitality of a person, the more vigorous the ki. Especially the aliens, their aura is even more colorful. The more brilliant and vast this color is, the stronger and infinite potential that alien is. It is because of this ability that Zhao Jianhe was able to preach on behalf of Yuan Kangai, the leader of the snow cult, and recruit many believers. He can see gifted aliens and unawakened. It can be said that the rapid expansion of the current snow worship cult has something to do with his ability. The power of the Dafa decree was fleeting. He took a deep breath and walked back step by step on crutches. For such an important discovery, he had to report to the leader and the high priest. Yangsheng base. Zhao Hanglian has already made a decision to use troops against Zhang Yi's shelter to avenge his cousin and subordinates in name. The actual purpose is naturally to use this as a pretext to march into the Zishan district and Lujiang district to snatch the rich resources there. However, she also knew not to act rashly. Surrounded by powerful enemies, it is very risky to divide the troops. And how strong Zhang Yi's background is, she doesn't have a definite answer in her heart. She needs time to prepare and make sure she gets the job done. Not long after, the deputy Zhuge Qingting brought her someone. It was a middle-aged man with a strong figure and a fierce face. Meet the leader. My name is Wu Huairen. I used to be the manager of Xinlang Security Company. I participated in the shelter project in Yonk Manor back then. And that man named Zhang Yi was also handled by me, and I built a safe house for him. If Zhang Yi saw him again, he would definitely recognize this manager Wu Huairen. As the manager of Xinlang Security Company, he was also a man who had joined the army, worked as a professional mercenary and a full-time bodyguard. After the end of the world, he has survived to the present with his powerful force and ruthless behavior. Now he joined the Yangsheng base and became a small leader among ordinary soldiers. Zhuge Qingting found Zhang Yi when he was investigating Zhang Yi, so he brought him here. When Zhao Hanglian heard what Wu Huairen said, he asked curiously, "Are you familiar with that Zhang Yi?" Wu Huairen said, "I'm not familiar with it. It's just a simple relationship between the employer and the company. However, I'm familiar with the place where he currently lives." Zhao Hanglian didn't know much about Yonk Manor 101. Oh, what's different? Woohoo Iron explained the situation of the shelter to her in detail. After listening, Zhao Hanglian suddenly realized, no wonder, they were able to block the attack of the Zishan base for more than a month, but they were safe and sound. It turned out to be the shelter you built. That makes sense. Woohoo Iron said, the Zishan base has no way to take that shelter, but our Yangsheng base can break it. Leader, please leave this matter to me. Naturally, Woohoo Iron would not miss this opportunity to make contributions. The Yangsheng base also has a strict hierarchy. The higher the level, the better the food, shelter and various supplies you can enjoy. Zhao Hanglian looked at him. Do you know where the weak point of that shelter is? Woohoo Iron said, as the leading domestic brand, Zanlang Security Company cannot tamper with the client's house. But since we built the house, we have a good understanding of the structure and materials of the house. As long as you can touch the house, and with our large work truck, you can completely cut the wall. It is very difficult to drive large work vehicle from Yangsheng base to Lujiang district. But the Yangsheng base is not short of fuel, and can fully afford this consumption. Coupled with Woohoo Iron who understands the structure of the shelter, it is absolutely possible to cut the outer wall of the shelter. Zhao Hanglian nodded. Okay, you can go with us in this operation. As long as things are done well, I will promote you to lead a team later. Woohoo Iron's face showed excitement when he heard this. Thank you for the leader's cultivation. However, I still have a problem that I can't figure out. Zhao Hanglian held his cheek with one hand. A trace of doubt appeared on his face. No matter how strong the shelter is, and how special the materials used are, the gap can still be opened with professional tools. In this case, the Zishan base can be destroyed even with explosives. Why didn't they do it? Chapter 389 Xingshan. The appearance of Woohoo Iron made Zhao Hanglian very happy, and she obtained more information through Woohoo Iron's introduction. But at the same time, she also felt a little more doubtful. Although the Zishan base cannot use large operating vehicles, they have a lot of weapons and equipment, and there is no reason to take a shelter and have nothing to do. In this world, there is no fortress that cannot be captured. But why is Zhang Yi's shelter still safe and sound? Could it be that Zhang Yi and his partners are so powerful that it is difficult for Zishan base to get close to them? Zhao Hanglian had to be cautious. Without knowing the opponent's strength, any careless move will bring a fatal crisis. She waved Woohoo Iron to go down and get ready. After thinking alone for a long time, she slowly made up her mind. If there is a real risk, I can't let my Yangsheng base family bear it. We must drag the other forces into the water. In this way, not only can the risk be shared, but it can also prevent them from sneaking into the base while I'm operating. Although it is possible to monopolize all the results by acting alone, a truly shrewd businessman will only obtain limited benefits. People who like to play high risk and high yield are gamblers, and gambling with dogs will not end well. In the first time, Zhao Hanglian found her old friend, Wei Dinghei, the leader of Chaoyu base. The two parties are strategic partnerships, and they have the closest relationship among the major forces in Xianhai City. The key is that Wang Ruxun, a stranger in their family, also died in Zhang Yi's hands, so there was a reason to send troops against Zhang Yi. After the call was connected, and after the two of them exchanged a few polite words, Zhao Hanglian directly explained the purpose. That guy named Zhang Yi is not simple. He was able to compete with the Zishan base for so long at the beginning, and finally the Zishan base was destroyed. I suspect that it has something to do with them. Neither of our two families dare to deal with them alone. Otherwise, we should cooperate. What do you think? On Wei Dinghei's side, in fact, he had already sent spies to investigate the details of Zhang Yi in the sanctuary. He also didn't find out why, and he didn't dare to attack that shelter. Hearing Zhao Hanglian's suggestion, Wei Dinghei just smiled. I'm afraid it's not enough for our two families to fight. If you want to fight, then drag everyone into the water. The smile on Zhao Hanglian's face became brighter and brighter. We both want to go somewhere. Worship the snow sect and the green base. One looks like a messy cult organization, and the other is a conservative force composed of steel workers. The strength of these two families should not be underestimated. If they attack Zhang Yi while they are splitting up their forces, they will not be able to bear it. Especially the snow worship sect has been ostracized by other forces in Cheyenne City and has long accumulated grievances. Don't look at them pretending to be dogs on weekdays. They dare not offend anyone. But dogs that can bite don't bark, and no one can rest assured of them. So, the best course of action is to strap them all to the chariot. Zhang Yi said, as long as the two of us work together, it will be easy to persuade them to follow suit. I'll go to the King Poo base and say, I'll leave it to you to worship Zhujiao. No problem, right? Wading Hei's eyes wandered. If the four families work together, how to divide up the territory will be another big problem. Zhang Yi snorted coldly and said with a smile, the Zishan base has such a large territory, no one has the ability to take it all. Now we have to spend a lot of effort just to stabilize our own territory. I don't care about anything else, but the material factories and machinery factories in Lujiang district must be given to me. Wading Hei chuckled. It's easy to say. We operate at sea all year round, and those things have no effect on us. It's just that we take more of the food in the warehouse. Also, I hope you can supply more fuel by then. After some bargaining between the leaders of the two forces, a consensus was reached. Therefore, the two parties followed their agreement and asked the other two families to send troops to attack Zhang Yi together. Qingpu district is located in the northwest of Cheyenne City. There used to be a huge forest farm here, as well as the famous Qingpu steel making plant in Cheyenne City. Qingpu Shelter, one of the four major shelters, is just below the steel works. The personnel inside the base are mainly loggers in the forest farm and steel workers in the steel factory. Although they are not professional soldiers or bodyguards, no one dares to underestimate the combat effectiveness of this group of brothers. In a workshop of the steel works, sitting on the lathe was a man who appeared to be in his 30s. However, steel workers generally look old, and it is difficult to determine his exact age. He was wearing grey overalls, and his hair was messy, because he hadn't done it for a long time, which also made his high hairline more obvious. There are loose stubble on his dark face, and there are many acne marks caused by irregular work and rest. Such a man can be seen on the assembly line of any factory in Cheyenne City. He is ordinary and not outstanding. At this time, he had one leg on the lathe, pinched a steamed bun in his hand, and threw it on the ground piece by piece. Two dogs are lying on the ground. If you look closely, there are two people. A skinny Mediterranean, a long-haired four-eyed dog. Thick iron chains were tied around their necks, and they were sticking out their tongues like dogs, begging for mercy from the man in front of them. Every time the man threw down a piece of steamed bun, they would quickly lie on the ground and fight for it, and even fought together salivating. When a man sees this scene, a happy smile will appear on his face. Outside the workshop, several people in white combat uniforms walked in. There is a clear green leaf logo tattooed on the chest of their combat uniforms, which represents their status as members of the Green Base. A few people came behind the man who was feeding, glanced at the funny scene on the ground, and smiled uncontrollably on their faces. Boss, the girls from Yangsheng Base are looking for you. The man who was feeding the dog raised his head when he heard this. Oh, that bitch Zhang Yi is looking for me? Why is she looking for me? Subordinate HUI reported. It is said that there is a very important matter to discuss with you. As for the specific content, we are not qualified to know. Crossing Shan, the boss of Qingpu base, jumped off the lathe. Okay, let's go and see what she's up to. He turned around and was about to leave, but the two dogs on the ground panicked immediately, ignoring the chains behind him and crawling forward. Wang. Wang wang wang. The two stuck out their tongues and looked at Crossing Shan with obsequious eyes, hoping that he would give him more food. Crossing Shan turned around and was delighted to see their funny faces. Director Liu, Director Sun, you are really good at being dogs. I was wrong to let you be human before. He threw the steamed buns in his hand to a subordinate. They haven't eaten for 3 days. Please feed them for me. It's rare to have two good dogs to play with. Don't kill them. The two subordinates smiled happily. Okay, just leave this matter to us. Don't worry. Crossing Shan walked out of the workshop, and soon there was a barking sound from inside, which later turned into a screaming scream. Chapter 390 Allied Forces. With his hands in his pockets, Crossing Shan walked out of the workshop slowly. It was freezing cold outside, and the snow was terribly thick, but he didn't see much coldness. There are workers standing guard in combat uniforms around, and they will salute Crossing Shine when they see him. Crossing Shine smiled and waved to his brothers, then walked slowly all the way to the factory office. The temperature inside the room is very high, and the steel factory is not short of coal. Now there is no need to continue steel making. They use these to heat hot water. Heating is very easy. At the door of the office, a girl in a small combat uniform squatted there, holding a wooden stick in her hand to write and draw on the snow. Squatting in front of her was a huge snow white wolfhound. Its size was more than 10 times the size of ordinary dogs, and it was about the same size as the gigantic Huaha. But at this moment, the giant dog was obediently lying on the snow, watching the girl writing, with a low-browed and pleasing appearance without a trace of fierceness. On the contrary, there is a hint of cuteness in the eyes. Seeing Crossing Shine approaching, the big dog raised his neck and let out a wow. The little girl on the snow also raised her head, and when she saw Crossing Shine, a sweet smile appeared on her white and round face. "Father." Crossing Shine smiled and strode over, hugged the little girl, then tightened the fur around her neck to protect her cheeks. "Didn't I tell you? Don't come out. If you have nothing to do, it's too cold outside. If you really want to come out, put on your hat and scarf." The girl's name is Zhao Lingling, and she is Crossing Shine's goddaughter. Her father was Crossing Shine's coworker. He died in an accident a few years ago, and Crossing Shine adopted her. Zhao Lingling smiled sweetly and said, "It won't be very cold. It's very warm inside the steel factory." Crossing Shine pinched her little face. "When the time comes, I'll catch a cold for you, and you will suffer the old crime." He put Zhao Lingling in front of the big dog. "You play with Lel for a while. Daddy goes over to do some errands, and will come over to accompany you later." Zhao Lingling nodded obediently, then continued to squat down, and said in a childish voice, while writing on the ground, "Lel, this is 1, this is 2. The big dog Lel lowered his eyebrows and looked embarrassed. "It really can't learn this stuff." Crossing Shine walked into the office, which was the site of the former factory manager. The decoration inside was very gorgeous, and it was that kind of low-key luxury. It doesn't look resplendent, but the mahogany table, the red sandalwood coffee table, and the full set of blue and white court tea sets can make people feel what it means to be classy. Crossing Shine came in loudly, and the communication personnel were waiting for him here. "Boss, I have been waiting for you for a long time." Crossing Shine walked over and sat on the sofa seat. "She asked me to do something. What's wrong with telling her to wait?" Even so, he reached out and pressed the connect button. Zhao Hanglian's exquisite face was immediately displayed on the screen of the communicator. She rested her cheek in one hand with a somewhat impatient expression. "Crossing Shine, it's really not easy to find you. You made me wait so long. Look what you said." Crossing Shine smiled disapprovingly, with a ruffian on his face. "No one can guard the communicator all day. I have something to do just now. Why are you looking for me? Just tell me." The corner of Zhao Hanglian's mouth twitched. She knew that Crossing Shine's character was like this. After all, before the end of the world, he was just an ordinary team leader in Qingpu steel plant. Most of these workers are straightforward. Zhao Hanglian then straightforwardly told him his purpose. "The Zishan base has been wiped out. What do you think about the Qingpu base?" Crossing Shine sucked his teeth and said casually, "The northeast of Zishan mountain borders us. I don't think you are interested there. Anyway, their territory is so big, no one can take it for a while. So why don't you discuss how to divide it up?" Zhao Hang smiled. "That's easy to say. But now there is still a problem in front of us. On the original site of Zishan base, there is still a very powerful force entrenched. If you don't clean it up, all of us will be at risk in the past. My people and Wei Linghei's people were all killed by him." Hearing these words, Crossing Shine couldn't help but froze his eyes. Qianhei City really has such amazing people. Not only can you bite off a piece of meat in the mouth of the Zishan base, but you dare to attack your two bases at the same time. Zhao Hanglian nodded. "It is true that there are such awesome people. We have investigated, and they are not a big force like us, but a relatively small but elite team. There are many strangers in it, and they are very powerful. They are leaning against a shelter comparable to a military fortress, and even the Zishan base can't do anything to them." Crossing Cheyenne touched his chin. This was the first time he had heard the news. The Qingpu base is the most low-key among the major forces, and has never had contact with Zhang Yi before, so naturally it doesn't know Zhang Yi's existence. When he received the information at this time, he also secretly speculated in his heart. He cautiously said to Zhao Hanglian, if they are strong enough, we can't rush to attack. You have to understand that, if you travel long distances, to fight in an area that is not your own territory, you will lose % of your strength first. Zhao Hanglian persuaded, so this time we invite you to attack them together. Our Yangsheng base and Chaoyu base have already made an appointment, and we will launch an attack together if you nod. When the time comes, the three of us will reach an agreement, and those who worship the Snow Sect must also send troops. The four families join forces, and after taking them down, they will carve up the entire Zishan district and Lujiang district. What do you think? Crossing Cheyenne felt a little relieved when he heard that the four families joined forces to attack. Back then, it was the faction you were talking about that caused the uproar with the Zishan base, right? The armed forces of the Zishan base are so powerful, but they can't break through their defenses. Can we do it? Zhao Hanglian knew that Crossing Cheyenne would definitely ask this question. She replied, the person who built that shelter was at the Yangsheng base. Then I will naturally have a way to break through their defenses and go in. Crossing Cheyenne raised his eyebrows, thinking that this matter was very interesting. Today, when the four major forces in Hay City join hands, is there any place that cannot be defeated? He immediately thought that the reason why Zhao Hanglian and Wei Dinghe invited him over was because they couldn't eat the territory left by the Zishan base, and they were worried that the Qingpu base was making small moves behind their backs. This business is sure to make a profit without losing money, and it can definitely be done. I'll have to think about it again. Crossing Cheyenne rubbed his stubble-covered chin, and I need the information you gave me about the shelter. Zhao Hanglian nodded. This is no problem. You can think about it carefully. This is a huge benefit to your Qingpu base. You will never regret it. Chapter 391 The Plan of the Snow Worship Cult. Crossing Cheyenne didn't give an answer on the spot. Now, as the leader of the Qingpu base, every move he makes will affect the life and death of thousands of workers and brothers in the Qingpu base. He is not a resourceful and wise man, but he is better than self-knowledge. So think twice about everything, and there is absolutely nothing wrong. Not long after the call ended, Zhao Hanglian sent him a copy of the promised information about the shelter. Crossing Cheyenne clicked on the information and glanced at it. It was this glance that made him startled slightly, then sat up straight and stared at the screen carefully. Among the information, Zhang Yi's personal information is placed at the forefront. It wouldn't be so coincidental, would it? He said in a daze. Cheyenne Feng District. Wei Dinghe also contacted Zheng Yixin, who worshipped the Snow Sect, and asked them to join forces to attack Zhang Yi. Compared to the Green Base, Wei Dinghe is not less polite to the Snow Worship Sect. Among the four major forces in Cheyenne City, the Snow Worship Sect has the shallowest foundation and the weakest strength. Except for the large number of people, other aspects are far from being comparable to other forces. In addition, they have been preaching abroad and absorbing people from other forces, so the attitude of each family is not very friendly to them. If Snow Worship Sect hadn't paid a huge price for this, it would have been wiped out by several other sects. Therefore, Wei Dinghe's attitude towards Zheng Yixin was very tough, not so much asking for opinions, but giving orders. Our three major bases will send people there, and I hope you will also send a team to assist. We don't want someone coveting behind us when we are fighting hard. Zheng Yixin frowned. He knew that with the current strength of Begsu cult, it was impossible to reject Wei Dinghe's suggestion. Otherwise, the three families might clean them up first. Okay, I see. We'll send someone there then. Zheng Yixin had no choice but to agree to Wei Dinghe. Wei Dinghe smiled and said, "You are a smart person." After finishing the call, Zheng Yixin's cold eyes began to crazily permeate with killing intent. His right hand creaked, and he punched to the side with a punch. The powerful force of thought directly destroyed a wall. Wei Dinghe, Zhao Hanglian, Crossing Cheyenne, I will let you be arrogant for a while now. When the day I worship the snow cult rises, I will definitely kill you all. The matter of worshipping the snow cult is presided over by the high priest Zhang Yi. As the spiritual leader, the leader Yuan Kanggai usually does not interfere with other affairs. But this matter is of great importance. Zhang Yi still went to report to Yuan Kanggai. After Yuan Kanggai finished listening, there was no slight fluctuation on his calm face. Are there going to be wars again? How many people will die this time? She clasped her hands together and looked devoutly at the statue of the snow god directly above the church. May the benevolent gods have mercy on everyone and lead them to bliss early, away from suffering in the world. Zhang Yi was behind her and said helplessly, the three of them are working together and we can't do without troops. I'm afraid that they will be used as spearmen and let our people go first. Yuan Kanggai said, death is not terrible. Everything will return to the arms of Snow God. Zhang Yi said, I'm afraid that, after taking down that shelter this time, we won't get anything. And after making the three of them stronger, they will attack us sooner or later. A dark light flashed in Yuan Kanggai's eyes. She turned around slowly and looked at Zhang Yi. Maybe this can also be an opportunity. Let's send someone there, but we must get a share. Zhang Yi took a deep breath and shook his head. Territory is not important to us. Then we need people. Yuan Kanggai said, we have laid down the shelter, we don't need all the sites. But they have to promise to allow snow worship cult to preach in their territory. And don't pursue those defectors anymore. They are already God's people. Zhang Yi rested his chin and thought for a while. The matter of preaching will be difficult, but there is something to talk about. At this moment, there was a knock on the door of the church. Zhang Yi frowned. Who would dare to interrupt him when he was talking to Yuan Kanggai? Who? A familiar in vicissitudes of life came from outside the door. Your high priest, it's me, Zhao Jianhua. I have a very important matter to report to the leader and you. Hearing that the person who came was Dafa Zhao Jianhua, Zhang Yi suppressed the coldness in his eyes. In the entire snow worship sect, the Grand Decree has a very special status. He does not hold positions within the sect, but his importance is second only to Zhang Yi. All this is due to his special Wan Qi ability. Without him, snow worship cult would not be able to gather so many powerful aliens now. It turns out that the Great Decree is back. Please come in. As soon as Zhang Yi finished speaking, the door of the church was pushed open. Daffling walked in with a cane and first saluted Yuan Kanggai. Zhang Yi asked, Daffling, this time I asked you to check Zhang Yi's details. How did you go? The intelligence system of the snow worship cult cannot be said to be poor. It can only be said to be almost non-existent. They do not have advanced network systems and professional investigators like other Al-Qaeda organizations. So we can only let the big decree go and look at the strength of Zhang Yi's team through the ability of hopefulness. Dafaling walked to Zhang Yi, bowed and said to Yuan Kanggai and Zhang Yi, the old man made a very important discovery this time, so he recklessly interrupted the conversation between the two of you. But I believe that, after listening to my words, you two will not be disappointed. Both Yuan Kanggai and Zhang Yi couldn't help but look more solemn. What have you found? Dafaling raised his head, and there was a gleam of light in his cloudy old eyes. I found an incomparably vast key in that place. This surging power may be second only to you, the leader. As soon as these words came out, Yuan Kanggai's ice-like face finally showed a wave of fluctuation. Even Zhang Yi's eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe what he heard. Grand Decree, what were you talking about just now? Yuan Kanggai asked in a cold voice. The Dafa Decree raised his hands. My lord, I'm loyal to you, and to the snow worship cult. Please believe every word I say. In that mysterious sanctuary, there is a strong man with abilities comparable to yours. Maybe he is a right hand of the gods, and can help you achieve great things. Yuan Kanggai's eyes fluctuated violently. Zhang Yi lowered his head and thought about it. The words of Dafaling really shocked him too much. Yuan Kanggai's blessing ability can help people awaken abilities for free. This ability can be called a miracle. And does Zhang Yi or someone around him actually have a powerful ability comparable to blessing? You know, even when seeing Ling Feng, Zhao Hanglian, Wei Dinghe and others, Dafaling had never given such a high evaluation. Doesn't this mean that the mysterious Zhang Yi and his team are extremely powerful? In that case, can this attack really be as easy as Wei Dinghe said? I'm afraid neither Wei Dinghe nor Xiao Hanglian are clear about this information. They miscalculated the strength of Zhang Yi's team. The fluctuation in Yuan Kangyian quickly returned to normal. I see. Thank you for your hard work, Daffa. Go down and rest first. I have prepared several new servants for you. You should like them, she said and clapped her hands. The door of the church opened slowly, and a nun led two delicate-faced little boys over. They had just received the exorcism ceremony a few days ago, and now their faces are pale, and they look feminine and sick. A fiery light burst out from Daffaling's cloudy eyes. Thank you, Master, for your gift. After he finished speaking, he turned around, ran up to the two little boys like an old rabbit, put his arms around them, and left with a smile on his face. The nun slowly closed the door. Inside the church, Yuan Kangyi looked at Zheng Yixin. The situation has changed. Zheng Yixin frowned, and said in a deep voice, it seems that everyone underestimated the strength of Zhang Yi and his team. If that's the case, even if we join hands to attack that shelter, considering the inconvenience of long-distance combat, it may not be so easy to take down that shelter. Having said that, Zheng Yixin fell into a brief silence. His eyebrows stood upright like sharp swords, and his tone became a little more serious. However, if we can change the partner of cooperation and join forces with Zhang Yi to deal with other people, then the situation will be wonderful. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392 Old Classmates. Zheng Yat Sen came up with a very bold idea. There seemed to be flames burning in his eyes. That is a rage of revenge that has been accumulated for a long time. Since the end of the world, the snow worship cult has been struggling to survive in the cracks. From the weak sect at the beginning, it has grown to a large sect with thousands of followers. But even so, they are often suppressed by the opponent when they face the powerful Al-Qaeda organization. Therefore, Zheng Yixin was always waiting for the opportunity to take revenge on them. The appearance of Zhang Yi made him see the possibility of revenge. Yuan Kangyi slowly walked to his side, his eyes calm and scrutinizing. Cooperate with Zhang Yi to fight against the other three Al-Qaeda organizations? Will this matter be too risky? We don't know how strong Zhang Yi's team is. Once the bet is wrong, it will only lead us into a war with the other three major forces in advance. That's not what we want to see. Yuan Kangyi took a slow breath and said quietly, after all, we still need time. A lot of time. Zheng Yixin didn't think so. He said, this can be used as an attempt. After all, if we miss this opportunity, it will be very difficult for us to find a force like Zhang Yi's team that is both powerful and hostile to Al-Qaeda. Once position is divided by them again, the situation we face will only become more and more dangerous. Zheng Yixin frowned deeply when he thought of the attack on the snow worship sect by Yangsheng Base and Chaoyu Base a few days ago. Now, they can no longer face the attack of powerful enemies. They still need time, a lot of time to develop the power of snow worship cult. Try? Yuan Kangyi stared at him with piercing eyes. But what if the attempt fails? A mysterious smile appeared on the corner of Zheng Yixin's mouth, and he whispered a few words in Yuan Kangyi's ear. Light slowly appeared in Yuan Kangyi's eyes, and then he nodded happily. If that's the case, it's a good plan. We can minimize the risk. The next day, Daffa Zhao Jianhua was called to the church by Yuan Kangyi. She took out a small wooden box from her arms and handed it to Zhao Jianhua. Grand Decree, this time I have a task for you about the future of the snow worship cult. I hope you will not let down the snow god's will. Yuan Kangyi said lightly. Daffaling took the wooden box, and he knew what was inside without even looking at it. But the weight in hand is obviously not one portion. His expression was a little astonished. This kind of thing would cause a great physical burden to Yuan Kangyi. Even snow god's human body cannot be created all the time. But this time, Yuan Kangyi gave him 2 copies at once. What kind of mission is this? Daffaling bowed to Yuan Kangyi and saluted. I will definitely live up to the high expectations of the snow god and the leader. I just don't know, what do I need to do this time? Yuan Kangyi looked down at the little old man in grey robe. I'm going to you to visit Young Manor and give these two things to Zhang Yi and tell him our sincerity in worshipping the snow sect. The rain is coming and the wind is all over the building. The waiting process is undoubtedly a bit frustrating. Zhang Yi and the others knew that people from Zishan base and Chaoyu base would call over sooner or later, but they don't know exactly when they will come and what form the opponent will attack. Fortunately, they have already prepared all means of defense and everyone has assigned combat tasks. In this way, even if a war breaks out, they will not be in a hurry. But just waiting like this, it is inevitable that there will be a little anxiety and impetuosity in my heart. In order to stabilize his mind, Zhang Yi goes to the stadium on the third basement floor to practice martial arts every day. After studying with Liang Yu for a period of time, Zhang Yi also mastered some fighting skills. With his own abilities, even if he is fighting close to him, it is difficult to pose a threat to Zhang Yi unless he encounters a powerful alien of the melee type. After all, his acceleration ability is too abnormal. There is a saying in martial arts that there are martial arts in the world, but the only thing that can't be broken is fast. As for Liang Yu herself, she also slowly recovered from the heavy blow. Although his mental state didn't look very good, he was still very depressed, but he no longer had the urge to go to Yangsheng base for revenge like before. Instead, after learning that the Yangsheng base was about to lead troops to attack, she wiped her tang knife in the room every day. Everyone could see that Liang Yu had to use a brutal killing to soothe her inner emotions. This is a good thing for Zhang Yi. In his eyes, Liang Yu is a good knife. Now that it has been tempered, it only waits to be sharpened with the blood of the enemy. But on this night, an unexpected news broke the current tranquility. A message popped up on Zhang Yi's phone, and a penguin popped up from the top of the phone. This made Zhang Yi extremely astonished. Although he always had a penguin on his mobile phone, he hadn't used it for a long time. Since the end of the world, no one has used this thing to send him a message. After all, in the adult world, it is rarely used to chat. In 2050, Penguin, like WeChat, has become a state-owned asset, and it is the most important civilian communication software in Huaguo. Therefore, even if the end of the world comes, their servers are well protected and have not been paralyzed. This is the means by which ordinary people can relate. Zhang Yi was very curious. This pop-up window can't be a junk advertisement of Penguin now, right? His mobile phone has been transformed into a satellite phone, and the security method is very high, and he is not worried that someone will release the virus through it. So Zhang Yi turned on the phone. He didn't directly click on the message to check, but went to the main interface of Penguin to see who sent the message. In the end, it turned out to be a friend who hadn't been in touch for many years. Crossing Weinan. When these three words came into view, Zhang Yi couldn't help but frowned and recalled. This is his classmate from elementary school and junior high school. The two of them used to live in an old community. The relationship between them is not very good, but they have been classmates for 3 years in junior high school, and they often play together. But Crossing Weinan's grades in junior high school were not satisfactory. After failing the high school entrance examination, he transferred to a third-rate high school in Qianhe City. Later, Zhang Yi moved to the new home in Yulu district with his parents, and he never saw him a few times. I just heard people say that he seems to have taken over his father's shift and went to work as a steelmaker in the factory. He's not dead yet. It seems that there are some tricks. Zhang Yi took a closer look and saw the message from Crossing Weinan. Old classmate, long time no see. Zhang Yi paced back and forth in the living room with his mobile phone. At such a tense moment, an old classmate whom I haven't seen for a long time pops up suddenly. I don't know what it means. But now is not the beginning of the end of the world. The appearance of Crossing Weinan must have some special meaning, rather than simply coming here to borrow supplies. Maybe it's because I've lived in the last days for too long, and when I suddenly meet an old friend, I feel a little emotional. Zhang Yi thought for a moment, and then replied to his last message. Fine. How are you doing? Ha ha ha. It really is you. You are still alive. Crossing Weinan suddenly laughed. I didn't expect you to become so powerful. Well, but I'm not bad. Now I'm also the director of the largest steel factory in Qianhe City. How about it, old classmate? I'm not bad at it. Between the lines of Crossing Weinan's words, there was an indescribable excitement. It's like discovering a new world. But after seeing what he said, Zhang Yi suddenly felt something was wrong. Isn't the largest iron and steel factory in Xianhai City Qingpu Iron and Steel Factory? Crossing Weinan became the factory director there. His pupils shrank, and his gaze was as sharp as a sword. Are you the boss of Qingpu Base now? After a while, Crossing Weinan sent a message. It's too troublesome to type. You know my education level is not high. Let's chat by voice. After all, Crossing Weinan's voice call request came over. Zhang Yi raised his brows upside down. He has no contact with Qingpu Base, let alone any grievances. Crossing Weinan is really the boss of the youth base. What purpose does he have in contacting him? Anyway, you'll have to finish the chat to find out. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa, reached out and pressed the green call button. Crossing Weinan, long time no see. There was a hearty laugh immediately. Ha 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 ha. Zhang Yi, long time no see, long time no see. It's really you, kid. I didn't expect. You are so capable now, even the Zishan base was killed by you. But I'm not bad. Qingpu Steelworks is under my management now. It's really rare that we two crouching dragons and phoenixes appeared at the same time in the Jinxiu community back then. Crossing Weinan talked a lot. It can be seen that he was indeed a little excited. This made Zhang Yi couldn't help but recall him. In the past, Crossing Weinan was featureless, ordinary looking, not tall, and his face was always covered with acne. Because of his unsatisfactory academic performance, he sat in the back row of the classroom all year round. The relationship between Zhang Yi and him at that time was not bad. Among the boys, they would go out to play together after class, and the two of them met at that time. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, even if Zhang Yi was killed, he would never have imagined that that simple and honest guy would become the overlord of Xianhai City. Holding the phone, Zhang Yi said with a faint smile, "Isn't the boss of the Qingpu base called Crossing Xian? What? You changed your name?" Crossing Weinan laughed and said, "I think the name Crossing Weinan is not aggressive enough to intimidate people, so I changed it. Listen, isn't the name Crossing Xian very prestigious?" The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth curled into a smile. A person who gains self-confidence by changing his name often only shows that he is very unconfident in his heart. According to the information obtained by Zhang Yi, Crossing Xian has very powerful abilities, which is the basis for his success in seizing power. He can understand the mentality of an upstart like Crossing Weinan. Tell me, you suddenly contacted me. What do you want to talk about? Chapter 393. Zhang Yi's attitude caused Crossing Weinan's voice on the other end of the phone to pause. Oh, it's better to call him Crossing Xian. After all, he is a big shot now. Big men don't always like others to mention everything about him when he was down, including his name. Crossing Xian chuckled. I wanted to catch up with you. You see, I didn't do very well in school at that time. Unlike you, I was handsome, popular with girls, and my academic performance was also good. Speaking of this, he let out a long sigh and said with emotion, "Hey, who would have thought that I would have such a great day? Are you right, old classmate?" Zhang Yi smiled, not caring about Crossing Xian's attitude. This is the mentality of the poor when they become rich. When he didn't know the other party's intention, Zhang Yi didn't expose the other party. He just said to Crossing Xian, "We can talk about the past slowly in the future. But you must not find me today to reminisce, right? I'm quite curious, so why don't you just tell me what your purpose is? How about it?" Crossing Xian on the other end of the phone raised his eyebrows. Zhang Yi's attitude did not satisfy Crossing Xian. What he hoped to hear was Zhang Yi's shocked voice. For example, "Holy shit, you have become the director of Qingpu Steel Plant?" Or say, "I didn't see it. You didn't see any ability in our class back then. Why did you take off all of a sudden?" Zhang Yi didn't do what he thought, but he didn't say anything that made him unhappy. But putting on a cross in front of his old classmates, Crossing Xian was still in a good mood. "Okay then, let's talk about business." Crossing Xian picked his ears, and his tone became serious. "Zhang Yi, didn't you kill the people from Yangsheng Base and Chaoyu Base before? Now they have decided to get you. And it wasn't the two of them who did it. To be on the safe side, they called me and the snow worshippers. If the four of us attack you together, I'm afraid you will suffer old crimes." A sharp light flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. 4 families? He has no grievances with Snow Worship Sect and King Pooh Base. He is not surprised that Yang Sheng Base and Chaoyu Base will join forces. It's just that I didn't expect that the forces that joined forces this time turned out to be all the top forces in Xianhei City. If that's the case, the pressure they need to face will double. Zhang Yi had the worst idea in mind. If we really had to face that situation, the possibility of the surface of the shelter being breached would be as high as 20%. At that time, they can only abandon all the surrounding villas and the 2-story buildings on the surface and live underground. Exaggeration? Not an exaggeration. Even if the 4 join forces, it does not mean that the ability to attack tough battles has been quadrupled. Even the Zishan base, which has the largest ammunition depot, did not destroy the 2-story building above the ground of the shelter. The explosives possessed by these 4 forces may not be as much as a Zishan base, even if they add up. Zhang Yi asked calmly, "So you came to me this time to declare war?" Crossing Shine sneered. "Old classmate, what age is this? How can there be any talk of declaring war? If I really want to go with them to beat you, I will definitely catch you by surprise. I'm looking for you this time. First, I want to catch up with you, and second, I want to talk to you about my past relationship." On the other end of the phone, there was a touch of warmth on Crossing Shine's face. He recalled that, when he was studying, his academic performance was not good, and he was not popular with women. Among many classmates, he is like a minion. But Zhang Yi didn't dislike him at the beginning and helped him explain the way of doing the questions. Now that he is developed, he also wants to help his old classmates to show his success. "Zhang Yi, what do you want to talk about?" "Let's talk about it." Crossing Shine's thoughts were interrupted by Zhang Yi. He said, "Our youth base has no grievances with you. I don't need to fight this battle, but you must give sufficient conditions. The Kingbo base is not warlike, and the workers in the entire Kingbo iron and steel plant like to live a stable life. Their life is not bad now, and once they fight, they will die, which is something they don't want to face. Passionate workers are not afraid of death, but they don't want death to be worthless." So Crossing Shine contacted Zhang Yi. "If you can gain benefits without bloodshed, and without killing a brother, that is the best choice. As for whether there is Crossing Shine's care for his old classmates, there should be a little, but not much." Zhang Yi fell silent. He couldn't judge whether what Crossing Shine said was true or not. He couldn't even judge whether the person on the other end of the phone was really Crossing Shine. However, he remembered that Crossing Weinan was indeed working in the Kingpo iron and steel plant, and that the other party was able to live until now, so he was probably Crossing Shine. Seeing Zhang Yi hesitate, Crossing Shine smiled and said, "You better make up your mind quickly, because you don't have much time left. They will attack your shelter soon." Zhang Yi's eyes narrowed. "When?" "Hahaha, I can't tell you this, unless you agree to exchange with me." Zhang Yi thought for a while and asked, "How much do you want?" Crossing Shine said, "I want 10,000 kilograms of food." Zhang Yi frowned. "Kilograms of food?" Crossing Shine said, "Yes, if you want us not to join this war, you must at least produce this much food." Zhang Yi fell into silence. He thought that Crossing Shine's grades had not been very satisfactory, especially in mathematics. Few of the 150-point test papers could score more than 60 points. 10,000 kilograms is 10 tons of food. Wouldn't he think that 10 tons is a lot? It's not that Zhang Yi looks down on him, but in his warehouse, there are more than 10 tons of food on just a few shelves. Zhang Yi said, "Let me think about this matter again. After all, you want too much food. You have to give me some time." Crossing Shine said, "Okay, well, I will give you a day to think about it, no more. Give me an answer before noon tomorrow." He took a deep breath. "Old classmate, you'd better agree. Otherwise, I really don't want to meet you on the battlefield." "I understand, so let's say that first." Zhang Yi and Crossing Shine ended the call. He was leaning on the soft sofa. The crystal lamp above his head exuded a warm and soft yellow light, covering his body. Zhang Yi slowly put his hands behind his head. 10 tons of food is not much to me. You can bring him the canned food from the Zishan base. Oh, that's right. There's also the pile of canned food that Wang Ximing didn't finish eating in the warehouse before. That thing weighs the most, and there's a lot of soup in it. It's not difficult at all to make 10 tons. Just, can you trust him? The material problem is easy for Zhang Yi to solve. He didn't even need to touch the good stuff in his own warehouse. If it weren't for the possibility of danger outside, he could take Fatty Zhu with him at any time, and together they would find several supermarkets buried deep in the snow for excavation and transportation. But Zhang Yi didn't want the bamboo basket to fetch water in vain. He and Crossing Cheyenne haven't seen each other for many years, and people are always easy to change. This matter can be agreed, but only a part of the deposit can be paid first. After the battle is over, and the performance of the King Poo base satisfies me, I will pay the rest. Zhang Yi thought of a countermeasure in his heart. Chapter 394 The Old Man. This call with Crossing Cheyenne was an accident, but it allowed Zhang Yi to gain very important information. First, the sanctuary may face a joint attack by the 4 largest forces in Cheyenne City. Second, their offense will be in short order. Zhang Yi is quite confident about the defensive capabilities of the shelter. These 4 families don't have people like Qin Xinian, and they can't produce large-scale ground-penetrating missiles, and they can't destroy the 3-story underground space at the core of the shelter. Moreover, the conflict between them and Zhang Yi is not too deep, and it is not so close to life and death. Once the investment is not proportional to the harvest, they will choose to give up the attack. Be prepared for the worst, and then fight the fiercest battle. Only by deterring all the forces in Cheyenne City can we exchange for peace. Zhang Yi sorted out the logic. He decided to cooperate with King Poo base. In exchange for 10 tons of food, they will not sell, but he will only pay a deposit in advance. Reducing a large faction as an enemy greatly increases their chances of holding their sanctuary. Zhang Yi immediately called everyone over. Meeting. He explained the basic situation to everyone. When they learned that they might face a joint attack by the 4 major forces, the expressions on everyone's faces were very serious. This pressure is even more terrifying than when we fought against Zishan base. But at this time, Yang Xingxin said calmly, I don't think the situation is as bad as imagined. These 4 major forces seem to be working together, but in fact they are also wary of each other. There are only 2 bases that have conflicts with us, Yangsheng and Zhaoyu. The Bexagio and King Poo bases were both recruited by them. Since there is no fundamental contradiction, they are in a state of vacillation when they attack. There is a high probability that they will not work hard and will not really fight us to the death. If we can persuade the King Poo base not to send troops, then our pressure will be even less. Everyone nodded, thinking that what Yang Xingxin said made sense. Uncle Yu crossed his arms and said, our biggest weakness is that we have too few people. If there are too many opponents, we will have a great disadvantage in dividing our troops. Zhang Yi said, you can rely on the defense line to fight the first wave first. He looked out the window. The area around the shelter is not empty. There are 2 low mountains behind it, forming a natural barrier. Coupled with the heavy snow and slippery roads, it is impossible for them to rush down from the mountains to attack. So the main thing to face is the enemy in the front, about 120 degrees wide angle. Zhang Yi knocked on the table and drew an arc with his finger dipped in water. And our firepower distribution is mainly in this area. As I said, our goal is not to defeat them, but to repel them. Let them recognize that we have the strength to dominate one side. Zhang Yi smiled and said, after the fight, I will negotiate with them to turn the area around the shelter into a restricted area and not allow them to enter. At this moment, Fatty Zhu frowned and said, but even facing 3 attacks at the same time, the pressure is still not small. It felt like our first line of defense was going to be breached very quickly, and we had to fall back into the shelter to defend. The problem now is that our strongest defense is the shelter itself, and the second is your dimensional gate, boss. However, there are so many people from the 3 opposing forces attacking at the same time, and there are various means of attack. What if they have the means to break through the shelter? Fatty Zhu spread his hands. After all, the Yangsheng base holds a large amount of fuel resources. They can use many large-scale equipment, and they also have the ability to transport the equipment. Even the other side may have aliens with special abilities. Fatty Zhu's speech made everyone feel a little nervous. Alien is always the most unstable factor. But after Zhang Yi heard these words, he just smiled lightly. You don't need to worry about these problems. If it really happens, I will solve it. Zhang Yi is a pacifist and doesn't like war. But this does not mean that his strength is not strong enough. After the battle at Zishan base, he absorbed the supernatural energy of 4 aliens including Ling Feng. How strong he is at this time, no one knows. In short, the same sentence. If Zhang Yi's offensive data is 100, then his defensive data must be at least 1000. Then when fighting in his territory, his strength will be brought into full play. Steady doesn't mean he's not strong enough in real fights. As soon as Zhang Yi spoke, everyone showed relaxed expressions on their faces. Because everyone knows that Zhang Yi is an extremely stable man. When he said that, he must be very sure that he can perfectly deal with the upcoming problems. While everyone was discussing, Hua, who was sitting cross-legged on the sofa next to Zhang Yi, suddenly raised her head vigilantly. Its bicolor pupils looked out the window. Meow, this sound was full of vigilance. Seeing Hua's serious look, everyone couldn't help but feel nervous and hurriedly looked outside the house. As a mutant creature, Hua's intuition is much stronger than that of humans. Its intuition has always been very accurate, and it can perceive things that humans cannot perceive. It was pitch black outside the window, with only a faint light on the white snow. The snow was falling heavily, and the wind whizzed past. It seemed that something strange was approaching step by step from the snow. Go and see. Without saying a word, Zhang Yi saw the golden sand eagle in his right hand. He skillfully opened the insurance, then walked towards the window with Hua in his arms. Seeing this, the others quickly followed, and no one dared to be careless at this moment. They come to the window. Zhang Yi took out his binoculars and looked forward. Finally, he saw a figure in a grey robe in the wind and snow. It seems to be an old man in his dying years, leaning on a cane in his hand, walking towards this side step by step with difficulty. But no matter who it is impossible to treat him as an ordinary old man. Because on such a cold winter night, not to mention the elderly, even men in their prime, would not dare to travel at will. It should be a stranger. Zhang Yi made a judgment. It's just that I don't know which force he came from, and what purpose he came here with. Zhang Yi was a little uncertain, because no second person appeared nearby. In other words, the old man came alone. Or, he has enough confidence in his own strength. Or, he thought that Zhang Yi and others would not attack him. Regardless of the possibility, he must have enough cards. At this moment, Zhang Yi heard Uncle Yu's surprised voice next to him. I recognize him. He is the Snow Worship Cult Dapper I met in Ulu community. Snow Worship Cult. Everyone couldn't help but recall the name. One of the 4 current forces in Xianhai City. It is also the most mysterious and evil organization. What are they sending people here for now? Zhao Ken said vigilantly. Zhang Yi's eyes were serious, and he couldn't help thinking of Crossing Xian, who was talking to him today. King Pu Base, Snow Worship Sect, and he has no direct grievances. They were coerced by Yang Sheng Base and Chaoyu Base, and they participated in the attack on the sanctuary together. But everyone is worthless. No one wants to do anything that is not beneficial. So Crossing Xian contacted Zhang Yi in private, wanting to avoid war as long as he can get enough benefits. Then Beizujio's trip, maybe also for the same purpose. When Zhang Yi was thinking, Yang Xingxin's cold voice also came from the side. As far as I know, the relationship between the Snow Worship Sect and the other major forces in Xianhai City has always been at odds. If you want to disintegrate their alliance from within, then Snow Worship Cult is the best breakthrough. Zhang Yi put down the binoculars in his hand and said in a deep voice, but I also don't have any good feelings for this sect. The predecessor of Snow Worship Cult was Neon's Shinrikyo. In that country, where there are no restrictions on religion, there are too many organizations that are considered cults by China. Their greedy blood-sucking has ruined many religious families. Such a thing suddenly became the savior in the last days? Even if you think about it with your toes, you know it's impossible. Even the 4 major base organizations dislike them, and it is difficult for Zhang Yi to have any good feelings for them. Yang Xingxin smiled and said to Zhang Yi, but if they are useful, you can contact them. Zhang Yi nodded, and he very much agreed with what Yang Xingxin said. Cooperation depends on the value of each other, not on personal preferences. So he patted the shoulder of Fatty Zhu next to him. Fatty, go out and talk to him. Turn on the microphone. and I'll tell you how to talk to him." Facing the weird old man who dared to come alone, Zhang Yi didn't know his abilities, so he wouldn't take the risk himself. Fatty Zhu was taken aback and begged for mercy. "Boss, I'm the weakest of us. It's not right for me to go, right?" Zhang Yi glanced at him. "Your ability is the easiest to display in the ice and snow environment. Don't worry, with us here, we won't give him a chance to move you." As Zhang Yi spoke, he raised the golden sand eagle in his hand. "Once he has any strange movements, I will kill him in an instant." Seeing Zhang Yi's irresistible eyes, Fatty Zhu had no choice but to put on a bitter face, went over to put on his combat uniform, and then walked out of the gate of the shelter. Zhang Yi turned on the communication device so that he could hear the conversation between the two, and by the way, told Fatty Zhu how to talk to the other party. "Go out, don't let him get close to the defense line, lest he find our arrangement. A large number of weapons are hidden in the thick ice wall." Although it was difficult to see clearly due to the wind and snow, Zhang Yi was unwilling to take any risks. Fatty Zhu had no choice but to walk outside the defense line step by step, waiting for the old man on the opposite side to come step by step. And Daffa, who was approaching the shelter step by step in the snow, also saw the figure walking out of the ice and snow barrier. There was a dark golden light in his grey eyes. Within his line of sight, he saw the impressive aura of Fatty Zhu. Chapter 395 Winning Cooperation. "Stop, don't come any closer." According to Zhang Yi's instructions, Fatty Zhu stopped the big decree that he was about to approach. Da Failing smiled slightly, bowed and said modestly, "Hello, Your Excellency. I have seen a powerful brilliance in you, and you must be a powerful alien." This rainbow fart made Fatty Zhu a little happy. In the shelter, his strength was counted backwards, and it was the first time someone praised him for his strength. But soon the smile on his face disappeared, because Zhang Yi asked him to ask the other party's identity and origin. Cough cough. "Who are you, and why are you here?" Da Failing still maintained a humble posture, like an ordinary crooked old man. "I'm Zhao Jianhe, the Grand Decree of the Snow Sect. I'm here to pay my respects to Mr. Zhang Yi according to the will of my lord." He smiled slightly. "Your Excellency is not Mr. Zhang Yi, is it?" As he said, his eyes seemed to pass through the space, and he saw Zhang Yi in the shelter. The aura that made him tremble was clearly visible, shining like the sun in his eyes. Zhang Yi frowned slightly. "Came here to find him? Uncle, you reminded. This old man seems to be able to see through people's talents. He once approached me, but I rejected him. However, he helped Li Jian awaken his abilities." Zhang Yi nodded. "This is indeed a very useful ability, especially when used with their leader Yuan Kang Gai's blessing. It is a perfect match," he said to Fatty Zhu. "Ask him what he wants to do when he sees me." Fatty Zhu looked at the Daffa decree and said, "Our boss is not something you can see whenever you want. Just say what you have to say here. He can hear our conversation." Daffaling was a little surprised. He didn't expect that Zhang Yi would be so stable that he wouldn't even give him a chance to meet. In fact, he is not a stranger of the martial arts faction. Even if he is in front of Zhang Yi, he will not pose any threat. However, he admired Zhang Yi's approach. In the last days, strangers are rampant, and being cautious is always the first rule of survival. The Daffa said, "I came here this time under the order of the leader, because I have a very important message to send to Mr. Zhang Yi." 3 days later, the 3 bases of Yangsheng, Zhao Yu, and Qingpu will join forces to attack your shelter. Zhang Yi was not surprised to hear the news. It's just that he confirmed the attack time agreed by the other party. In this way, it is understandable why Crossing Shan and people from the Snow Worship sect will contact him today, because there is not much time left for them to discuss. Once the negotiation with Zhang Yi breaks down, they may have to sharpen their knives overnight and prepare to fight with Yangsheng base and Chaoyu base. Da Failing suddenly stood up straight, opened his arms excitedly and said, "These brutal and shameless warlord villains are actually wanting to kill and trying to destroy such a beautiful homeland. They even want to confuse my lord and attack you together. I worship the snow cult and have always served the gods devoutly, spreading love and peace to the world. Therefore, I'm very resistant to their suggestions." So, Daffling looked at the shelter with a gloomy gaze. "We hope to cooperate with Mr. Zhang Yi. After listening to the words of the Dapper, the smile on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth gradually changed. Here we come. It's exactly what we expected. The four major forces in Xianhei City are also intrigues with each other. How can there be any unity and cooperation at all? As long as the interests are in place, the backstab can be sold at any time. Whether it is the King Pooh base or the Snow Worship cult, they are both sold at the two stores. Now it depends on who can give them more benefits, and they will help them. Zhang Yi's heart became more and more at ease. The more they split up, the greater Zhang Yi's confidence in winning the next battle. He gave Fatty Zhu instructions, and Fatty Zhu asked, "Oh, do you mean that you can withdraw from this operation and not join the attack on us?" Unexpectedly, Dapper shook his head. "If it's just that, how can it be regarded as cooperation? The purpose of my worship of the Snow Sect is love and peace, and I will resolutely attack all evil forces. So the meaning of my family's leader is that I hope to cooperate with you to deal with the remaining forces." Zhang Yi stared. This snow cult has a big appetite. He actually wanted to unite himself and attack several other forces. However, he also heard from Yang Xingxin that the Snow Worship sect has been at odds with several other forces, and there are constant conflicts. If there is an opportunity to attack several other forces, they will naturally not miss it. However, why do they think that by cooperating with themselves, they can deal with the other three forces? They didn't know that Crossing Xian from King Pooh base had already discussed cooperation with Zhang Yi. So Zhang Yi said with some disbelief, "Ask him why he chose to cooperate with me who is weaker." Fatty Zhu told Dapper exactly what Zhang Yi said. The decree said, "It is because of the Lord's guidance. I see love and peace in you." Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Fatty Zhu. "There is no need to talk about the scene. It is better for us to be open and honest." Dapper was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "I understand. The reason is that, like your excellency, our snow cult is a force without background. Xianhei City used to have 4 major base organizations, and they were all big forces with backgrounds. In the early days of the end of the world, they had the best weapons and equipment, the best living environment, and the best talents. These people take it for granted that Xianhei City should be their property. But later, the rise of our snow cult and your excellency stung them. It made them feel that their interests had been lost. They cannot sit back and watch the rise of new forces, especially since both of us are grassroots forces with no background." Dapper took a deep breath and said with emotion, "This makes them feel afraid and jealous. For example, hasn't your power been suppressed by the Zishan base all the time? Our snow cult has always been suppressed by several major forces, trying to survive in the cracks. So from this level, both of us are the same type of organization. We should unite to resist the hegemony of those Al-Qaeda organizations." The Great Decree speaks with passion. What Zhang Yi heard was dull. To put it bluntly, the Snow Worship cult has been suppressed very hard, so I just want to take revenge. What kind of community of interests are you talking about? I'm not the same as you, a group of cult liars who deceive people. It is difficult to impress Zhang Yi with the statement of the Great Law. Because from the very beginning, Zhang Yi didn't care about such things as power and territory. He just wants to live comfortably in the last days. However, since everyone wants to kill Yangsheng base and Chaoyu base, there is a prerequisite for cooperation. Zhang Yi said lightly. Chapter 396 Ice Soul. Before Crossing Xian came to discuss cooperation, and later there was the Great Law of the Snow Worship cult to join forces with Zhang Yi to fight against other forces. The current situation is very good for Zhang Yi, but the vigilance in his heart has not weakened in the slightest. These people are just a group of bloodthirsty beasts, and they can only be fed with food. Once it finds out who is weak, it will pounce on it and take a bite. When it comes to cooperation, there is no such thing as Zhang Zhang Yi said to Fatty Zhu, "Ask them if they want to cooperate. What can they use to prove their sincerity?" Fatty Zhu asked the Dapper as he said. Dadama just smiled slightly when he heard the words. "My lord knows that Mr. Zhang Yi is a cautious person. If you don't have enough sincerity, you won't be able to believe in the sincerity of our snow sect. So this time I came here, I brought you a sacred object of the Snow Worship cult. I think you will understand our sincerity." After the great decree was finished, he took out the small wooden box from his body and handed it to Fatty Zoo. "This is the sacred object of the snow worship cult, Ice Soul," said the decree. Ice Soul? The name is a bit bluffing, but no one knows what this thing does. Fatty Zoo was afraid of danger, so he didn't dare to pick it up. Zhang Yi said, "Ask him, what is this thing for?" After Fatty Zoo asked, Darling smiled he. "The function of Ice Soul is very simple. It can help people to open up their spirits and become a different person. And for Yiren, it can deeply tap the potential and make Yiren stronger." Mr. Zhang Yi, I think you have been in Shanghai City for so long, so it's impossible that you haven't heard anything about this matter? A strange color flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. Is this the magical ability of Yuan Kang? He thought of what Li Jian once said, the so-called ice cap is a mass of white soft tissue similar to a snowball. After being implanted in a person's forehead, it can inspire people to get supernatural powers. Once Daffling also persuaded Uncle Yu, but was rejected by Uncle Yu. In Zhang Yi's eyes, the dangerous breath became more and more intense. There was also a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Come over and scare me with something like this. Zhang Yi never believed that there is a free lunch in the world. This kind of ability obtained by implanting some kind of object is absolutely abnormal. Do you think I will believe your nonsense? This so-called Ice Soul is actually shady, right? Fatty Zoo, tell him the exact words. Fatty Zoo hurriedly conveyed Zhang Yi's intentions. Darling's expression was still calm and smiling. He seemed to have guessed that Zhang Yi would have such doubts. However, he smiled and said, "Ice Soul is a sacred object, and there is absolutely no side effect. I can assure you of this. Because you are not the first person to get Bing Po. Prior to this, the 4 major shelters in Shanghai City have asked us for it. Are you still unwilling to believe things that they have verified?" Zhang Yi was taken aback by this sentence. What? Have all 4 bases been used? The 4 bases have more intelligence sources than him, and they also have scientific research equipment. If this Ice Soul really has side effects, it will definitely be found out. Zhang Yi didn't know whether what the Daffer said was true or not, so he quickly asked Yang Xingxin next to him. Yang Xingxin took out the laptop from under the wheelchair and started investigating quickly. Sure enough, she found the records related to Bing Po. There are indeed records in this regard. Among the earliest batch of aliens in the Zishan base, 2 of them had the ability to awaken through the Ice Soul. It is precisely because of this implanted method of opening abilities that they study the matter of transforming people. Yang Xingxin's voice suddenly paused, and she said in shock, "According to the report from Zishan base, this kind of thing called Bing Po should be cells separated from the human body." Zhang Yi suddenly understood. The so-called Ice Soul is Yuan Kangai's own cells. No wonder Zishan base later transplanted Ling Feng's cells to other people to create something like transforming people. Does this kind of thing have any side effects? Zhang Yi asked cautiously. Yang Xingxin replied, "According to the records, the 4 major bases have asked the Snow Worship sect for Ice Souls to create aliens. They have conducted research on this kind of cells, and they don't contain any harmful substances, and they can't manipulate the implanters through the cells. And the reason why Snow Worship cult can develop to its current scale is largely due to the living space obtained by using ice porridge." Yang Xingxin said with emotion, "If what's recorded here is true, then Ice Soul is undoubtedly a good thing." Zhang Yi looked out the window and didn't speak for a long time. Good stuff? Can people become aliens without going through a near-death experience, or can they inspire potentials in aliens? No, he didn't believe in such a good thing. Even if there is, there will definitely be side effects. Even if there are no side effects, he dare not use it. Because he has always been unafraid to speculate on anyone who doesn't understand with the deepest malice. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes and asked coldly, "Ask him, can this thing be used by ordinary people?" After Fatty Zhu asked, the Daffer decree gave his own answer. Its effects will vary depending on the potential of the person. We have tried it before, and it will only have a weak effect when used on ordinary people. But it does have some extraordinary abilities. So, it's best to use it on aliens. Zhang Yi didn't beep too much, and replied directly, "Okay, you sent this thing all the way, then I will accept it. Fatty Zhu, take it. Let's bring it up first." As for whether to use it or not, how to use it, I will think about it later. Dapper did not hesitate at all, and directly handed over the things to Fatty Zoo. Fatty Zoo saw the happy appearance of Daffeling, and couldn't help asking, aren't you afraid that we will refuse to cooperate with Snow Worship Cult? I mean, are you giving too much? There was a scheming smile on the corner of Daffeling's mouth. In any case, the result of several major forces joining forces to attack you cannot be changed. Even if the two of us can't reach a cooperation, let you become stronger, and then kill more people from other forces, it will be a steady profit for us. Fatty Zoo slandered inwardly, the old man is quite good at calculating. Zhang Yi then asked, I can understand that you want to use us to weaken the power of several major bases. But what are you going to do with this cooperation? It can be seen that you didn't just come here to ask for benefits. Zhang Yi sneered, your ambitions are even greater. Daffeling bowed slightly, but a cold chill burst out from his cloudy eyes. At that time, we will pretend to attack your shelter with them. Of course, we didn't work hard and feigned an attack nearby. And once they show their flaws, Daffeling suddenly smiled, like an old duck, we will stab them hard in the back. Chapter 397 An Experiment. After listening to the words of the Daffer, Zhang Yi cursed secretly in his heart, what a bunch of old bastards. The wishful thinking that Bezu taught these people is really good. These remarks are equivalent to letting them watch from the sidelines, and then wait until Zhang Yi and the other major bases fight to the death, and then rush out to take the kill. Moreover, whether they make a move at that time depends on the strength shown by Zhang Yi and others. If Zhang Yi and the others are quickly defeated by the coalition forces, then Snow Worship Cult will pretend nothing happened. This is tantamount to a conspiracy. And Zhang Yi, there is no way to refuse. Because compared to a definite enemy and a possible helper, he must choose the latter. I see. If what you give is really useful, then I will agree to your proposal. Zhang Yi decided to take a look at the effect of the Ice Soul before making a decision. Daffeling smiled and said, I believe you will not be disappointed. By the way, since we have shown our sincerity, should Mr. Zhang Yi also express your sincerity? Zhang Yi sneered and asked back, the most difficult battle is that we are fighting. What else do you want? Daffer quickly waved his hand. You misunderstood us. We don't need any supplies from you. We just hope that you can nod and allow the Snow Worship Cult to preach in your territory after winning this battle. For the Snow Worship Cult, it is a lifelong wish to allow more people to join in the glory of the Snow God. Zhang Yi muttered to himself, preaching. It really fits the style of a cult, isn't it, just pulling people's heads? Zhang Yi has no opinion on this point. As long as it doesn't harm his interests, he doesn't bother to ask what others do. If people want to live easily, the most important thing is to stay out of their own business. And with his personality, he has no time to take care of everyone in Zishan and Lujiang. So he said, as long as we can successfully repel the enemy, there is no problem with the conditions you proposed. Daffeling was very happy, and after saying some polite words, he returned happily. At this time, Zhang Yi also had a little more understanding in his heart. He originally thought that after he defeated the Zishan base, he would easily become the target of public criticism and be considered and attacked by other forces. But now it seems that, on the contrary, he is the center of an intrigue and power struggle. However, this also allowed him to master some of the behavioral styles of the four major forces. The Qingpu base is prudent and cautious, not keen on expansion. This has something to do with their leader being a conservative steel worker. Snow Worship Sect may seem weak, but it has great growth potential and great ambitions. The Zhaoyu and Yangsheng bases are the most enthusiastic about expansion, and the others are temporarily unknown. Nowadays, the Qingpu base remains neutral, and there is a chance that they will not make a move. The Snow Worship Cult wants to cooperate with me and stab several other forces in the back. The situation is getting more and more interesting. A meaningful smile appeared on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. Although he can't completely trust these two forces, as long as the interests are right, it's easy for them to betray Zhaoyu and Yangsheng. At that time, it will not be the four parties joining forces to encircle and suppress Zhang Yi. It was Zhang Yi who waited for work with leisure and cooperated with the undercover inside and outside to give them a heavy blow. But now, Zhang Yi is most interested in those two ice caps. Fatty Zhu said, "Boss, how do we deal with this thing?" Fatty Zhu was holding the small wooden box, feeling a little nervous. He was afraid that there was a bomb inside. Zhang Yi said, "Don't worry, you come to the door." Fatty Zhu carefully carried the small wooden box to the door. Zhang Yi directly put it into the different space. Even if it is a spider vise or an explosive, it can be handled well in a different dimension. Zhang Yi opened the wooden box and found nothing unusual. He just saw two white spherical crystals exuding wisps of white chill and wriggling slightly from time to time. Is this Bing Po? Zhang Yi looked at it and fell into thought. Things that have been used by the 4 major bases mean that its stability is guaranteed. The 4 major bases are not fools. If it has any abnormal functions, people will not use it at all. Zhang Yi also saw that after Li Jian used it, nothing unusual happened. Could it be that Yuan Khan Guy's ice soul is really a key to help people unlock abilities? After Zhang Yi talked to himself for a while, he suddenly couldn't help laughing. What a joke. I don't believe there is such a good thing in this world. If only people from the 4 major bases have used it. But the problem is that the big decree used it on Li Jian. In the last days, everyone is in danger, and everyone is thinking about how to make themselves stronger so that they can protect themselves. Who would be selfless enough to help others? There may be truly selfless people in this world, but the nature of the snow worship sect makes Zhang Yi never believe it. Even if you are really selfless and want to educate the world, I don't believe it. Zhang Yi's thinking principle is very simple. He is suspicious of anyone and everything except himself. He never wants to do risky things. However, with 2 ice caps, there is a chance to create 2 aliens. It was hard for him to be indifferent to such a big temptation. Just when Zhang Yi was thinking, several fiery eyes fell on him. Feeling the change in the atmosphere around him, Zhang Yi raised his head involuntarily. He saw Zhao Ke, Yang Mi, and Lu Karen all looking at him expectantly. Everyone has heard the conversation between Zhang Yi and Fatty Zhu, and they also know that there is such a good thing as Bing Po. These 3 women don't have any abilities, so they can only work as support staff in the shelter. Especially Yang Mi, the desire in her eyes is the strongest. She has the lowest role compared to other women. Now she has basically become a nanny in the shelter, responsible for doing housework and helping Zhang Yi relieve stress. She is the most eager to get the ice soul and then become a stranger. As an ordinary person, Yang Xingxin's performance was relatively calm and there was no change in her eyes. With Yang Xingxin's cleverness, he could naturally think that there might be unknown side effects of Bing Po. Several people couldn't restrain themselves. Yang Mi spoke first. "Zhang Yi, those 2 ice souls, do you want to use them?" There was caution and humility in her inquiry. Such a good thing. She worried that she was not qualified to use it. Lu Karen pursed his lips, with a look of embarrassment on his face, but his eyes were still hot. Zhang Yi looked at them, and actually had an idea in his heart. Now that this thing has been obtained, it is a pity not to use it. But he was worried about using it on important partners. So someone needs to do an experiment. Chapter 398 Candidates. Zhang Yi turned around and returned to the sofa and sat down slowly. Everyone also walked over and sat down, wanting to see what Zhang Yi had planned. One is how to deal with Bing Po, and the other is the next battle plan. After all, according to the Great Decree, 3 days later, the coalition forces will attack. Seeing the fiery eyes of several women, Zhang Yi decided to solve the problem of Bing Po first. He said indifferently, "You have heard about this ice poker just now. It can help people awaken supernatural powers. The 4 major base organizations have used it before. So far, no side effects have been found. But I'm not sure about it. I never believed that there would be pie in the sky." As Zhang Yi spoke, his eyes swept over everyone in the room. A few strangers are fine. They already have abilities themselves, and they live relatively stable lives in the shelter. In fact, they don't have much desire to become stronger, so they are not very interested in this kind of ice soul that may have negative effects. Except for Yang Xingxin, all ordinary people showed strong desires. As ordinary people, how could they not expect to become aliens and acquire extraordinary abilities? In the last days, the more power, the more guarantee of survival. Zhang Yi looked at them. "You guys have to think about it carefully. I will use at most one of these two ice caps now. To put it bluntly, the first person to use it will act as a guinea pig. Whoever wants to use it, raise your hand. Hearing what Zhang Yi said, there was a hint of hesitation on the faces of several women. It is true that they are eager to obtain supernatural powers, but they do not want to face unknown risks. But Yang Mi still raised her hand decisively. I'd love to try it. There was a determined light in her eyes. As a strong woman, she doesn't allow herself to be just a vase. Seeing Yang Mi raised her hand, Zhao Kena quickly raised her hand too, and Zhao Heimei, who was beside her, raised her hand weakly, frowning. Zhang Yi smiled and nodded, and said to Yang Mi, your will is the strongest, so I decided to give you an ice cap. Yang Mi's eyes were full of surprises. She rushed over excitedly, and hugged Zhang Yi's neck tightly. Great, thank you, Zhang Yi. Zhao Heimei smiled lightly, although she was a little disappointed. She quickly calmed down. After all, the relationship between her and Zhang Yi is relatively ordinary, and it is normal that such a good thing does not happen to her. After reaching a certain age, she is no longer the kind of competitive person. But Zhao Kena was obviously a little depressed, and beat his leg with a small fist, as if complaining that he raised his hand too late. They didn't know that Zhang Yi's so-called show of hands vote was just a formality. He had already known the right candidate, and it must be Yang Mi. First, since it is used as an experimental product, it must be the person with the least effect. Even if there is an accident, his loss will not affect the normal operation of the shelter. In line with this point, only Yang Mi and Zhao Heimei are in the whole team. Zhao Kena is a doctor, and Lu Karen is an important technician, so it is impossible for them to conduct experiments. Second, this person should be easy to control, because Zhang Yi doesn't know what effect Bing Po will have after using it. If there were no side effects, it would be tantamount to creating an inhuman for nothing. Then, this person must be his person. Based on these two factors, Yang Mi is definitely the most suitable candidate. But at this time, Yang Mi's excited eyes were full of tears, and the branches of happiness lying on Zhang Yi's body trembled wildly. Zhang Yi, thank you for giving me such a good opportunity. Zhang Yi said softly. Fool, my love for you is as deep as the sea. Who else can I take care of if I don't take care of you? He asked Yang Mi to sit down first, and everyone wanted to discuss the next battle plan. After all, things have changed now. Both the Green Base and the Snow Worship sect have the opportunity to take advantage of it. Zhang Yi said, my opinion is, temporarily forget about the fact that these two forces may become helpers. No one can be trusted. They may just come to defraud us, and there is a great possibility that they will turn back temporarily. So we still have to be prepared to face the forces of the quartet. However, if there are any changes on the scene by then. A devilish smile appeared on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. He folded his hands in front of him and said faintly, let our shelter become a hell for them to bury. The battle plan has not changed much. It's just one more improvisation. It must be taken into account that there are two forces that have become uncertain factors. Any negligence is absolutely undesirable. After the discussion is over, what follows is the scene that everyone is looking forward to. Use ice soul on Yang Mi's body. People are curious. They also want to see with their own eyes how to use such a magical thing as the ice pond, and what kind of magical effect it has. The method of use is relatively simple, as I said before the daffodicreel left. As long as it is placed in the middle of the frontal bone, it will automatically fuse with the host. For the sake of safety, Zhang Yi specially found a strong room, and then tied Yang Mi to the bed with a restraint belt. Yang Mi's expression was both expectant and nervous, and her body was trembling slightly with excitement. She is waiting for her destiny to change. But she didn't know that for Zhang Yi, it would be fine if Yang Mi didn't feel strange after getting the supernatural power. Once she shows strange changes, such as being controlled by others, or has a tendency to attack others, what will Zhang Yi do to her? This kind of thing can't really think about it, because once you think about it, it becomes cruel. In front of everyone, Zhang Yi slowly opened the small wooden box. Wisps of white cold air emanated from it. Everyone stared wide-eyed and looked over. Sure enough, I saw two shiny white spherical crystals, which were irregular spherical, and wriggled as if they were alive. Zhang Yi was wearing gloves, picked up an ice cap with a pair of tweezers, and slowly placed it on Yang Mi's forehead. Everyone held their breath, watching the scene in front of them nervously and expectantly. The ice poker landed on her forehead and touched her skin. Suddenly, extremely slender lines protruded from the small fleshy ball, sticking to her head like many tentacles. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw with their own eyes that the snow white meatball seemed to melt little by little and fell into Yang Mi's head. It was a fusion phenomenon. This cell can be perfectly integrated with the human body, and Yang Mi's eyes became hollow, and her eyes lost focus. The whole process was very quick. Within 2 seconds, Bing Pio was completely lost in her mind. There was only a snow white trace left. A light flickered in the middle of her forehead, and then disappeared. A tired look appeared in Yang Mi's eyes, and soon fell into a deep sleep. Zhang Yi said to everyone, "We have to observe her changes for a while. Let's go first." There is monitoring in the room, and the walls of the house are made of alloy, so any accidents can be dealt with in time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399. What is the effect of the so-called ice soul? Zhang Yi will get the answer soon. Zhang Yi sent everyone away, telling them to be vigilant in the next few days. After all, the news that the Great Decree said that someone would attack after 3 days may also be false. These days, no one can be trusted. Maybe tonight, large troops will attack. Everyone also knew that this war was no small matter, so they went back to prepare one after another. It can be said that it is preparation, which is nothing more than going through the things that have been arranged in the mind. After the others left, Zhang Yi called Zhao Ke aside. "Ke, you are in charge of watching Yang Mi. In order to prevent her from acting strange, inject her with a certain dose of muscle relaxants and tranquilizers." Zhao Ke nodded. "Well, I see. I'll get the medicine right away." Her small mouth was pouted, as if she could hang a soy sauce bottle. She looked a little jealous and dissatisfied. Zhang Yi couldn't help but burst out laughing. Of course he knew why Zhao Ke was unhappy. Because he chose to give the ice soul to Yang Mi instead of letting her use it. He took Zhao Ke's hand and stretched out his hand to rub her tender face gently. "Fool, do you really think that I didn't let you use Bing Pio because I cared more about her? On the contrary, it's because I care more about you. My feelings for you are as long as the Great Wall. I was afraid that Bing Pio would have side effects, so I didn't use it for you. Don't you understand my painstaking efforts?" Zhao Ke looked at Zhang Yi in surprise. "So, do you think so? But didn't Xingxin say that the Bing Po has passed the tests of several major bases and has no negative effects?" Zhang Yi said lightly. "Theoretically, drinking urine can save one's life, but if there is water to drink, no one would choose to drink urine, right?" The corner of Zhao Ke's mouth twitched. "What kind of metaphor are you talking about?" Zhang Yi pulled her with a smile and said, "Never trust what strangers give you. Any negligence in the last days may kill you. Ke, you are a very important doctor in our team. With this ability, you are even more important than other people. But Yang Mi is different. She has to go all out to prove her worth. That's why I chose to give Bing Pio to her. Do you understand?" After listening to Zhang Yi's explanation, Zhao Ke understood his painstaking efforts. At the same time, there was a feeling of warmth in my heart. It turned out that Zhang Yi didn't let her use Bing Pio because of his recognition of her ability and protection of her. Zhao Ke pursed her lips, accepted what Zhang Yi said, and obediently went to the infirmary to dispense medicine. And Zhang Yi suppressed the smile on his face after she left and went back to the bedroom silently. Now the situation has become complicated. The 4 major forces in Xianhe City are intriguing with each other and are not in harmony. The 2 families have enmity with Zhang Yi, and they covet this land even more, so they are determined to destroy the shelter. The other 2 are grass on the wall and are in a wait-and-see state. No one wants to lose something in this war, but they are all willing to seek the greatest benefit. No one can be trusted. Anyone may betray, and anyone may become a helper. Zhang Yi even believed that if he told the Yangsheng base and Chaoyu base about his plan to worship the snow sect, there would be a fight between them first. But does that make sense to Zhang Yi? King Bo Base and Snow Worship Sect have no enmity with him. His biggest opponents have to be Yang Sheng Base and Chaoyu Base. So right now, the main goal is still to attack these two parties. Zhang Yi lay in bed thinking for a long time and finally made a decision in his heart. Since war is inevitable, choose the way that is most beneficial to you. He picked up his cell phone and made a voice call to Crossing Cheyenne. Hey, Zhang Yi, have you figured it out? Zhang Yi nodded. I figured it out. We can cooperate. But I want to change the method of cooperation. A look of curiosity flashed in Crossing Cheyenne's eyes. Oh, how do you want to cooperate? Zhang Yi, according to the amount of food you said, I will give you twice as much. But you have to come to this battle. Crossing Cheyenne sneered and said, you want me to help you? That's absolutely impossible. The Qingpu base has never provoked disputes. I don't want to fight with you, let alone offend the other three forces at the same time. Zhang Yi shook his head. No, I don't need you to fight anyone. I just need you to bring someone over and pretend to be attacking. Crossing Cheyenne looked suspicious. Let me take someone there to act. Zhang Yi, what kind of medicine is sold in your gut? Zhang Yi smiled and said, you don't have to worry about what I want to do, but there is no conflict of interest between us, let alone any grievances. As long as you bring someone over to perform a play, I can give you double portions of food. Do you want to take this job or not? Crossing Cheyenne's eyes flickered. There was no reason not to accept such a good thing, but he couldn't figure out Zhang Yi's purpose. But after thinking about it carefully, he just played a show in the past, and his people will not lose. Zhang Yi didn't even have a reason to design him. So he said with a hearty smile, ha ha ha. Good. I have no reason not to agree to such a good thing. But before that, you have to bring the food first to show your sincerity. Zhang Yi said, I will give you 1/3 as a deposit first. I will give you the rest after the matter is completed. Crossing Cheyenne thought for a while and felt that it made sense. Well, at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon, we will trade at the original site of Zishan base. Okay, it's a deal. The two ended the call, and the plan in Zhang Yi's heart was almost formed. He obviously could choose to stop the Qingpu base from sending troops, but he still chose to pay more and ask the Qingpu base to be a qualified actor. This approach serves two important purposes. First, if the Qingpu base does not send troops, then the Zhaoyu and Yangsheng bases will be more cautious, and they will also be on guard against the Snow Worship sect. In this way, the Snow Worship cult will backstab as promised, and the effect may not be so good. And if the Qingpu base is also there, it will make Zhaoyu and Yangsheng base more confident. When people are too confident, they are always easy to swell, which reveals various flaws. Second, Zhang Yi is confident enough that he can rely on the shelter to block the joint attack of several companies. Once the opponent's attack fails, Beizhujiao's backstab from the side, coupled with Zhang Yi's active attack, will bring a major blow to the two bases of Chaoyu and Yangsheng. At that time, the Qingpu base will definitely not let go of this opportunity to beat the dog in the water and join the battle group. Help them more effectively destroy the two bases of Zhaoyu and Yangsheng. Crossing Cheyenne just has no ambitions, but that doesn't mean he's pedantic or stupid. Who would turn down a good opportunity to reap the fruits of victory? Chapter 400 IT-039, S all unknown. Everything is unknown. Zhang Yi is very smart, but he has never been blindly confident. In the last days, there are only pure interests, and there is no faith at all. People and people, power and power are all using each other. One second they can cooperate closely, and the next they can stab each other in the back. He doesn't trust anyone, so he has to figure anyone out. In this battle, the ideal state is exactly what he expected. But even if faced with the worst situation, Zhang Yi would not be surprised if Qingpu base and Snow Worship sect turned against the water and joined forces with Yangsheng base and Chaoyu base to attack the sanctuary. At worst, just abandon the two-story building on the surface and enter the underground with stronger defense. This is the worst result. But in that case, I will definitely cause you heavy casualties. Zhang Yi said with a stern look. If you think about it carefully, he is definitely the top alien in Cheyenne City now. Not necessarily the strongest one, but there are very few people who can stand shoulder to shoulder with him, or even none. When he chooses a cautious defensive counterattack, The destructive power he can cause is unimaginable to others. In the middle of the night, Zhang Yi's door was suddenly knocked hastily. Zhang Yi, Zhang Yi, Yang Mi has changed. Outside the door was Zhao Ken's anxious voice. Zhang Yi suddenly got up from the bed, and Hua in her sleep was also startled. Her eyes stared like copper bells. Zhang Yi walked over to open the door, and at the same time, turned on his mobile phone to check the monitoring of that house. Sure enough, he saw Yang Mi tied up on the bed with a restraint belt. Her face was flushed, and she was covered in sweat. A white light flickered in the center of her forehead, as if something was about to burst out. Let's go and have a look. Zhang Yi's voice was serious. Once he finds out that Yang Mi is showing signs of being controlled, he will not hesitate to take action to disable her ability to move. Even in a state of out of control, the possibility of killing is not ruled out. After all, the existence of aliens is full of uncertainties. Zhao Ke followed Zhang Yi and felt that Zhang Yi's breath was wrong, so she didn't dare to show it. Zhang Yi brought Hua to this room. But at this time, the abnormal sweating and flushing on Yang Mi's body had faded away. She was lying on the bed panting, unable to move her body due to the injection of drugs. Yang Mi, Yang Mi. Zhang Yi shouted softly, without approaching. Yang Mi slowly opened her eyes, and when she saw Zhang Yi coming, she forced a happy smile. Zhang Yi, I'm done. At this moment, Hua jumped onto the bed suddenly, cocked her tail, and walked a few steps on Yang Mi's body, then looked at Zhang Yi peacefully with her eyes. Seeing this scene, Zhang Yi's heart finally relaxed. The intuition of a demon cat is hundreds of times stronger than that of a human. If there is any abnormality in Yang Mi, even a slight breath change, it can detect it. Hua was telling Zhang Yi that there was nothing wrong with Yang Mi in front of him, and she was still the woman he was familiar with from head to toe. Could it be that I'm worrying too much? Even the 4 major bases have verified that there is no problem with the ice apparatus. Does it really have no side effects? Zhang Yi couldn't help being a little puzzled, but soon he abandoned this idea. Doubt before you believe. It never hurts to be a little more cautious. Zhang Yi did not untie Yang Mi's restraint belt, but asked, how do you feel now? What kind of ability have you awakened? After a different person awakens a different ability, he will immediately know what his ability is. It's like a person has an extra hand and can clearly feel its existence and understand how to use it. Yang Mi closed her eyes to experience her abilities. She suddenly smiled and said, as expected, I only have to do housework at home. She didn't see any disappointment on her face. It seemed that she was very satisfied with her abilities. Yang Mi introduced to Zhang Yi, my ability is feast, and the food I make can help others recover their consumed abilities. She smiled and said, sure enough, it's an auxiliary ability. That's fine, I'm not very good at fighting. Zhang Yi's expression relaxed. He leaned against the door and smiled lightly. It is indeed a very useful ability, so that when we are fighting, we don't need to worry about the excessive consumption of abilities. He looked at Zhao Ke and said, Ke, help her untie the restraint belt. Zhao Ke's eyes were full of envy, and she walked over to help Yang Mi untie the restraint belt. But Yang Mi is still unable to move because of the medicine. When you recover tomorrow, show everyone your ability. Zhang Yi said with a smile. Okay, alright. Although Yang Mi's face was dripping with sweat, there was light in her eyes. She can finally do something for everyone and prove that she is not a dispensable person. Zhang Yi left here and asked Zhao Ke to take care of Yang Mi. Being able to enchant food so that food can replenish supernatural abilities. This kind of supernatural ability cannot be said to be very strong, but it is very useful. It just so happened that there was going to be a big battle coming up, so it would be a good thing to have one more support after all. The big decree is right. The effect of this thing still depends on the potential of the individual. Yang Mi's potential is only so great, and even the awakening ability is only auxiliary. It feels somewhat similar to Li Jian. Zhang Yi couldn't help thinking that he still had a nice soul in his hand. After thinking about it for a while, he still decided not to use it for the time being. Don't be in a hurry to create aliens. He has to observe Yang Mi carefully for a while. Wait until he completely eliminates all potential dangers, then let Zhao Ke or Lu Karen use it. The time came to the second day. In the morning, Zhang Yi called Crossing Shan. Come here now. The trading location has changed. It's in Zhujiang town, Lujiang district. After hearing this, Crossing Shine frowned and said, "Your territory?" Zhang Yi smiled and said, "Now I'm going to be surrounded and attacked, not you. It is not a big mistake for me to be careful. You will never suspect that I have ulterior motives for you." The appointed time was 2:30 in the afternoon, but Zhang Yi didn't intend to keep it from the beginning. Because the time and place are determined, the other party may lead someone to ambush. Zhang Yi likes to rule out all uncertain factors. Crossing Shine snorted coldly, "Okay, then it's up to you. It's in Zhujiang town." He also obtained part of the information of Zhang Yi and others. Although he has no way of knowing everyone's abilities, he also notes that Zhang Yi has few people under his command. As long as it is not relying on the shelter, it is difficult for Zhang Yi to contend with the base level forces head on. King Pu steel making plant is about 100 kilometers away from Young Manor. Crossing Shine and the others seldom leave their territory, so they were uncertain about the time, and the two parties agreed to contact each other when they arrived in Zhujiang town. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.